But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With the rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. This show is live. We get together and do this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. And what do? Well, we talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what they are. Try and have a conversation about these things around the water cooler. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. Like I said, we are live. We're streaming on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter. We are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM, and we're taking your phone calls. As always, as I always say, this is a conversation. This is less a show, less a program, because that's become a bad word in this day and age of censorship and technocratic overthrow. Well, don't let me get ahead of myself, but let's call this a conversation. That's what this really is. It's a two-way thing between me and you. Just some friends hanging out and having a good time and discussing possibilities, of course. And I know, we have our haters and whatever. It kind of take things a little bit too seriously. That's not what this is about. This is about kind of getting together and discussing folklore, getting together, discussing mythology, discussing why the world is the way it is, and kind of delving into some historical aspects and some of the other weird science going on. And well, yeah. That's what this is. And so, as always, I like to get your thoughts on this in real time as we're reading the chat in all those places like I described, and also taking your phone calls. If you want to be part of the show tonight, the number to call is 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, which, of course, is a Las Vegas area code. If you don't like the area code business because it's an archaic feature, and, well, let me tell you, it is, you can, and you're international and and get charged extra or whatever else, right? Just go to troubledminds.org and click the Discord link. Discord is a chat client. It's a voice client. It is how we get together and have conversations these days without being censored, by the way. High five to Discord. Like I always say, we shout them out pretty much every night because they're a fantastic program. And as far as I'm aware, I've only seen one instance in our server of censorship that was pointed out to me by somebody else that actually a meme was posted and Discord took it down, oddly enough. But like I said, it very much like everywhere else, we left Facebook because Facebook was doing nothing but censoring the information we talk about. And again, right, we call this, I like to call this drinking the maybe juice. All these conversations, right, is that we like to speculate. We like to let our mind wander a little bit. We like to stretch not just our imaginations, but push the envelope of conversation, because these conversations just can't be had anywhere. And that's why we do it this way, because again, I talk about things I find fascinating. I think that many times the conversations we have are important, and there's a number of reasons for that. Of course, like tonight, for instance, we're talking about werewolves. All right, and it seems like you say werewolves, and people go, oh, like maybe there's some interest, maybe there's not, maybe it's somewhere in between. But the way this goes is werewolves go back a long time. There are stories about this, just like ghosts and just like vampires and other things that go bump in the night, that go back a very long time, with stories and mythologies, and again, folk tales and oral tradition and all the rest of this. And so, just as an example, we're going to consider, is this stuff real? Do you think there was ever a possibility that this vampire stuff, or I'm sorry, see what I did? I'm probably going to do that a few times tonight, but the werewolf stuff is real. And so I like to say we drink a lot of the maybe juice here, meaning, well, okay, let's consider it. Let's consider it as a possibility of things, of the way the world is, and, and we can take it a bunch of different instances, a bunch of different ways, meaning, of course, let's say that you guys have seen the Matrix movies, right? And, this probably isn't a spoiler alert because it's a very, very old movie. Not the new one, Matrix 4, the old ones, the Revolutions, and I think it was in Revolutions, where they had vampires and werewolves actually in the Matrix movies, and said that they were an older version of the Matrix, okay? And so, meaning that it had been overwritten, the software was updated in the universe that we live in, which of course was a digital construct. And werewolves themselves, just for sake of conversation tonight, is part of the thought process here. The werewolves themselves were an old version of the Matrix, and they had escaped the overwritten process of the software update, and still existed in the new version of reality. And of course, in those movies, the reality in question was a digital reality. And so, of course, we can take the conversation there or anywhere. And that's really what this is kind of about. It's not about me dictating what people believe or what people think. It's kind of discussing and peering into the past and even into the future. I like to call myself Mike Stradamus from time to time. Jokingly, of course, I don't think I can really tell the future, but I think that if you do pay enough attention to the past, the things happen in cycles, and you're able to maybe better predict what's to come, not in a supernatural way, just in a paying attention way. So that's what's up. As the long-winded way to tell you that I'd love to hear from you tonight. One more time, 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org and join the show that way. We also have another Discord chat room running at fringe.fm/chat. Go there and you will get a direct invite directly to that chat room. Okay, so as I'm going through the news cycles, you guys know me. I pay very close attention to what's in the news, and sometimes you're surprised. Okay, because I have Google doing the Google alerts, right? Like I said, the technocracy doesn't always have to have it their way. You can use their tools to have it our way, and you can set Google alerts to send you news stories as they pop anywhere around the world based on keywords. And some of the keywords I put in there, because usually the news cycles don't include things like, well, wouldn't you know it, werewolves and vampires, okay? Well, naturally, because we're into the first week of October here and marching our way as the veil thins to Halloween, well, wouldn't you know it, werewolves and vampires are back in the news cycle again. So fantastic stuff for me, because I love it. I absolutely love it, because like in general terms, you could say, all right, the vampires, the moon comes out, they're, kind of like rabid, half people, wolves, whatever, right? Like there's some very generic things you can say about werewolves. However, if you go into the mythology and the folklore regarding werewolves themselves, there's a lot of very extremely fascinating conversations that can be had based on not just maybe some stories or some other things. For instance, this is what's on my mind tonight, and I'll show you the article what led me here to werewolves tonight. It's kind of not related, so I'll ask some questions in a moment because I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. But how do you become a werewolf? Right? How exactly do you become a werewolf? All right. So that, right, isn't that a fascinating question? It probably depends, like many things, on who you ask, okay? On what kind of folklore you kind of dig into, how far back you go in history, where these stories maybe began or did not. I found a compelling story, by the way, that I think is the tale of the first werewolf. And so we'll talk about that tonight. And some other things, right? And that's what I mean. On a cursory level, as Hollywood would have it, werewolves, just the fact that you're like, boom, there's a werewolf. He's in the movie, right? There you go. It's scary, right? It's scary. You turn the lights out, you get the dark, the fangs gleaming, the person changing into a wolf type man thing. And, well, it's simple. It's basic. But I think if you consider some of the folklore, like I said, it is not so basic, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And so here's a couple of questions. This is what was on my mind. I'll get you to the articles and some information as we go. But the thing is this: I was considering there's this thing called lycanthropy. All right. And it's actually a clinical condition, by the way, which we'll get into and talk about that tonight. But it's also a mythological or folkloric condition, meaning people actually turn into werewolves. All right. And so there's a couple ways to look at it just right off the bat. And there are very much that clinical condition where people believe they are wolves or different animals even. But mostly, oddly enough, it's wolves. Right? Weird, right? Okay. But anyway, so then I started wondering, so what makes a werewolf? How are the ways that you can become afflicted by this lycanthropy, by this disease, this curse, what have you, whatever it happens to be? What are the ways you can be afflicted by this and turn into a werewolf? And of course, there's the very basics, which we'll get into, which, you get bitten by a werewolf. All right. There's the easiest beginning. You're going to find that in the Hollywood tropes and all the rest of that. But there's a lot of ways here. There's a lot of ways here. If you dig just a little bit, there's a lot of ways that maybe you could turn into a werewolf. So that's the first question. What are the ways you can actually shape change into a werewolf? And so we could add shape changers into the equation tonight, transmutation into the equation tonight, into the conversation. Like I said, wherever you guys want to take this. Now, so the first thing is, how do you become a werewolf? Which we'll get into. I got lists and all kinds of stuff and old stories, and you know me. I dig into this and kind of get like a nice broad base to start with, and then we go from there. But okay, so there's that. But then second, I started to consider, wait a minute, though. So if you can catch this condition, this lycanthropy, and actually change into a werewolf, how also can you be cured? Is that a possibility? And so, we've talked about in the past, silver weapons and shooting werewolves and things like this, right? All that, blah, blah, so on and so forth. It's all part of the mythology, part of the folklore. But I think that this one thing in particular is pretty sweet in that, how do you become a werewolf? Is it as simple as being bitten, or is there more to it? And I think there's more to it. So that's what's on my mind tonight. The questions here. One, do you believe that a werewolf is real? Do you believe in the folklore, the mythology, that maybe shape-changing and becoming cursed or afflicted by this condition known as lycanthropy could be a real thing? Okay, there's the first thing. And if so, how do you cure it? Then, of course, since it is the first week of October and we're marching steadily towards Halloween, I'd love to know your thoughts on werewolf movies. Is there a favorite werewolf movie you have, and why? So let's throw that into the mix, because why the hell not? And I've got a very close friend. His name is AJ, and he's one of his favorite things in the world is scary werewolf movies, and he's probably seen them all, right? There's probably hundreds of them, and they're, like he always jokes with me that, you can't look at werewolf movies on the scale of like a 1 to 10 Rotten Tomatoes type of thing. You got to cut that in half, right? And you got to start at 5, right? Because there's so many bad werewolf movies, but he still loves it. He still loves the idea. He loves the trope. He loves the whole ambiance of that, and so. He's been trying to get me to watch werewolf movies for years, and I'm notoriously a terrible movie watcher because I'm work, and then I turn on a movie and I fall asleep. So I don't really watch too many movies, right? So I finally, the reason I bring that up is because I finally ended up watching American Werewolf in London. And I did see that recently in the last several weeks here, and in its entirety. I remember way back in the day I saw, remember the guy in the red jacket out there and the, that whole bit in the bar, and I was like, the tavern, I'm sorry, is probably what it was called. Anyway, I was pleasantly impressed. I thought it was a fine movie, and so I'm going to just call that my favorite werewolf movie because it's the one I've seen, and it was done pretty well. I thought there was pretty good stuff there. So that's part of the equation tonight. I'd like to know what is your favorite werewolf movie, and again, lycanthropy. We're talking about that, and of course we can add shapeshifters into the equation, transmutation, or you tell me, where are we going to take this tonight, and that's where we'll take it. So all right, so here we go. This right here is this. Let's go to where we began. This is from dreadcentral.com, and of course, scary movies are a thing, right? Scary movies are a thing. It's Halloween. Everybody's like, yeah, let's put on the scary movies. Okay, but here's the thing, right? This is a new movie's coming out called The Amityville Moon. All right. Now, I'm not endorsing this and saying it's good or bad, or I'm indifferent. I don't know. It's in the news cycle, so I'm using it as a crutch to get into lycanthropy and werewolves, because why not? But anyway, there's an actual trailer that came out regarding this movie, The Amityville Moon. An exclusive clip shows the consequences of facing off with a werewolf. I'm not going to play the clip. It's particularly gory, but I did link it in the chat if you guys are interested in that, and you guys can watch the particularly gory clip on your own. But here we go. All right, so there's the link. But okay, that's what's on my mind tonight. Why not, right? I mean, why the hell not? Let's talk about werewolves, because it is we're getting into the month of October, and we'll sprinkle in some of this. We'll get to vampires and some other things as we go. But that's the question tonight. Do you think that werewolves at some point in history were real, and still real? And then on top of that, how would you catch this affliction, this curse, lycanthropy? And if you can catch it, how do you get rid of it? And of course, remember, lycanthropy is actually a clinical thing. They've diagnosed this in people, and there you go. There you go. Okay, so there it is, and that's what's on my mind tonight. Like I said, there's a lot of werewolf in the news recently, but mostly it's like, promotion, and this is a movie's coming out, or this, that, the other thing, and that's cool. That's all fine. Like I said, there's no problem there. It's a great way to start a conversation, even though I've never seen this particular movie. So there we go. There we go. All right. So as we begin, let's get into this now. Now this is what actually started me thinking, and we talked about werewolves in the past. Actually, clearly, once or twice on this show, not a ton, but once or twice. And I find myself every time we do a show on werewolves, it seems like there's a ton more that we never really got to, and I think that's why I want to base it just on how do you become a werewolf and how do you cure lycanthropy. So here we go. This is from hellhorror.com. And of course, why not? hellhorror.com. And here we go. All right. So it starts like this. Folklore in Galician, Brazilian, Portuguese legend tells that the seventh son in a line of sons, but sometimes the seventh son in a string of daughters, will become a werewolf. And of course, right, so that means it's a blood lineage sort of thing. And like I said, we're discussing how this is lycanthropy may be afflicts people, all right? Whether it is, in this case, it would be sort of a blood curse based on this. Again, legend, folklore in Galician, is that, let's see, I don't know what that is, Galicin, and Brazilian and Portuguese legend tells that the seventh son in a line of sons, but sometimes the seventh son in a string of daughters, will become a werewolf. And there's sort of a blood curse, something that's kind of built into what humans are through history. And so you can see it's very rare, but there's one idea. This belief is called lobizon, Lobizon. It is so accurate that the seventh son was often abandoned, sent to adoption, or even killed in northern Argentina. In 1920, a law was passed in Argentina declaring the president of Argentina to be the godfather of every seventh son. The son is given a cold medal at baptism. Gold medal, not a cold medal. A gold medal at baptism and a full scholarship until his 21st birthday. I wonder if that's still real. But anyway, there you go. So there's one way, right? Like an actual seventh son sort of blood affliction. And again, we're talking about werewolves tonight, guys. We're like I said, why not? We're kind of marching into the month of October, slowly and surely toward Halloween, and this is a fun conversation, so I'm going to have it. We're going to have it. 702-957-1037. All right, so here's another one. How about this? Actually, let's talk about that for just a sec before we plow through some of the rest of this. The seventh son of the seventh son was said to be automatically afflicted by lycanthropy, meaning, of course, that as the horror trope goes, that upon the full moon, you change into a wolf, into a rabid wolf-type person. And, of course, you sort of lose your memory, and for the evening, you begin hunting people. And, well, I'm not sure where that comes from, other than, well, there's probably been some horrific things throughout history to maybe corroborate that. Like I said, there's some stories here that we'll get to. But that's where this begins. And as you know, the question is this: how do you become a werewolf? And if you can be afflicted by this lycanthropy disease or curse or whatever you want to call it, condition, is it possible to cure it? And of course, we're talking about your favorite werewolf movies tonight. So, like I said, I haven't seen a ton of them because I'm just that guy. I don't see a ton of movies. I do like reading things and talking about weird stuff, as you know. So anyway, looking to hear from you one more time, 702-957-1037. And let's keep on trucking. All right, so there's more of this. The seventh son of the seventh son is automatically afflicted. And this is from Argentina, they say. Okay, here we go. Infection. Here we go. Here's a little bit more. How else do you become a werewolf? See, I keep doing it. In modern fiction, it has become usual for werewolves to become werewolves by being bitten by another werewolf, like we said when we began. This is probably the most basic idea of how to become one of these things. Thus making the werewolf curse nothing more than a virus or contagion spread to the surviving victim. And of course, right, in pandemic world, pandemic land as it's become, well, interesting thought. What happens if you get COVID and you bite somebody? Don't try that. It's a theoretical, hypothetical, don't try this at home type question. But here we go. So this is a rare and a legend, and as most werewolf attacks seldom left any remaining survivors. So of course you would have to survive the attack from the werewolf, and then this bite would put some sort of contagion into your blood that would turn you into the werewolf itself. In werewolf films, of course, it is not always clear whether the werewolf infects the victim with the disease or the person must be under some curse. Some claim that simply by having food prepared by a lycanthrope is enough to transfer the infection. And so there we go. We'll leave that off and continue with more of this as we go. But also, we can add this to the conversation. I was looking into some, as you guys know, I love Dungeons and Dragons and some of that mythology and folklore that comes from there because, of course, it's based on real tales. The original Dungeon Master, Gary Gygax, way back in the 70s, was a prolific researcher. And of course, this was pre-internet days, so you had to find this stuff from actual books. How dare he, right? And he had a ton of things regarding werewolves in his lore in Dungeons and Dragons, including, of course, not just werewolves themselves, but were-tigers, were-rats, werebears, and other afflictions of lycanthropy, which are not exactly stuck to the wolf. So you tell me. I love to consider this stuff, love to think about it, and love to hear your thoughts. What's your favorite werewolf movie tonight? And do you think it's real? Do you think in some point in history that, well, werewolves were a thing? We'll get to the clinical version of lycanthropy, and also, how do you become a werewolf? And if you can, how do you cure the affliction? 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More after the break. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter. And we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. We're taking your phone calls tonight as we discuss lycanthropy. How does one become a werewolf? And if you can become a werewolf, is there a cure for said affliction? Also talking about, do you think werewolves are real? Talking about your favorite werewolf movie and all the rest of this, of course, because why the hell not? Like I said, try and have this conversation around the water cooler. It's probably not going to happen. Hey, Jimmy, what do you think about lycanthropy? And if you get it, do you think there's a cure? If they don't call HR on you instantly, well, get me that job. Let me know where you work, and high five to those guys. Anyway, all right, so that's what's on my mind tonight. If you guys want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can also click the Discord link at troubledminds.org, and we'll put you on the show. And I don't know, I think, like I said, there are some fascinating tales with this. And before we get into more of the ways you can become a werewolf, I think let's start this at the beginning. At the very beginning, what about the very first werewolf? We'll get back to this, how one becomes a werewolf as we go through the discussion tonight. And again, as we take your phone calls, hopefully you guys are interested enough in this to actually talk about this. But here we go. This is from godsandmonsters.com. And this is supposedly the history of the very first werewolf. All right, so I'm going to read you this, and it's a pretty great story regarding where this actually originated, and it's a Native American tale actually. So clearly we're talking about ancient days, kind of dateless, meaning that this is in the oral tradition, and so of course it's been written down since, but that's where the real tales come from, don't they? Pre-writing, and yeah. All right, so let's go. This is again the history of the werewolf. This is not too long, but I'll try and burn through this so we have time in case you guys want to call and be part of the conversation at 702-957-1037. All right, let's do it. Okay, so the history of the werewolf has roots in many different cultures dating back to ancient times. One legend in particular refers to an early Native American tribe in the area that is known as Wisconsin in the United States of America. It was here that members of the tribe may have been the first to receive the gift of the werewolf. In this legend, there is a spirit god named Weezakachek. Weezakachek. I'm going to have to keep saying that and going back to the pronunciation. So Weezakachek was a shapeshifter who lived in the woods. Of course, he was an ancient god. He was a friend to humans whose default physical form was that of a wolf. One day, Weezakachek was roaming the woods in the form of a man when he saw two brothers from the Fox tribe hunting. The boys, named Keme, K-E-M-E, and Match-It-Ayu, again, Native American, trying to do my best to pronounce these things. What is it? One more time. Keme and Match-It-Ayu, okay? And these two friends had just caught a deer with their bows and arrows. Let's see, and okay. Weezakachek walked up to the boys, who of course was this Native American ancestral god, and he presented himself as a lost and hungry wanderer from a different tribe. Keem offered the strangers some of the deer meat that they had just caught, and Wisakachek accepted. Okay, now they're being tested of sorts, right? They're being given asked for help by an entity that can shapeshift, and they're helping this lost wanderer, the stranger, as it were. So, about a week later, Wisakachek appeared in the same part of the woods again and saw the same boys again hunting. Matchit Ayu explained that ever since they caught the deer a week earlier, they hadn't been able to catch anything and were very hungry. Wisakachek, remembering the boys' previous generosity, told them he had no meat to offer them, but he could share with them his power to shapeshift into a wolf so that they could catch a deer more easily. At first, the boys didn't believe him, but when Wisakachek transformed into a wolf and back in front of their eyes, they excitedly agreed. The only condition that Wisakachek gave Keem and Matchit Ayu, the two friends, was that they could not use their wolf forms to hurt any humans, only to hunt. All right, so that's how this begins. And again, this is a story of where the first werewolf came from, and it's a Native American tradition, and we're talking about it tonight. And of course, we're talking about werewolves. How do you become an actual werewolf? A lycanthropy is a thing, a clinical thing that we'll get to in a little bit as well, where people actually believe they are wolves. So we'll get to some of that and what it actually means, but weirdness, right? There's a great story here. Some ancient god tests these two friends hunting, asks them to help a lonely, hungry traveler, and they do. And so their generosity is rewarded when the next week they can't catch deer, and they're starting to become hungry. He gives them the ability to shapeshift into a wolf so that they can more easily catch deer. All right. So, and the only condition is you cannot use this power to hurt other human beings. All right. All right. Pretty good stuff. All right. Let's go to part 2. And I'm going to link this if you guys want to check it out. And like I'd never heard this one. This is the type of stuff that I listen to or I like to dig out because it's stories that are a little bit off the beaten path. People don't really know a lot of these stories. And so when I find them like this, I think it's pretty fantastic to share. What's up, Kelly? I see you over there on Rockfin. Thanks for showing up, buddy. Okay, here we go. Part 2. Now this continues. Months went by, and the boys used their wolf forms to catch enough deer for the entire village. One day, Matchit Ayu was in an argument with another boy in the village, and in his anger, he transformed into a wolf and killed the boy. Now, fearing their power, Matchit Ayu and Keem were both cast out of the tribe and forced to live in the woods. Now, they've got the ability to shape change into wolves and hunt deer, and now it's culminated in the death of, in anger, of a fellow tribesman. So they're cast out. Wisakachek was furious, the god who gave them this power. He said that was the only condition, right? And so he was furious when he found out. He cast a new spell on Matchit Ayu so that from that day forth he could no longer be able to shapeshift at will. Every day he would take on a complete human form, and every night he would transform into a mindless wolf. Keem, having done no wrong, was allowed to keep his shape-shifting ability. Having been cast out from the Fox tribe and knowing that Matchit Ayu would be unable to control himself in his wolf form, Keem left by himself into the wilderness. Matchit Ayu is now known as the father of werewolves, being the first one and creating the others. This is where the history of the werewolf begins, but it is far from where it ends. Many years went by with no sign of Matchit Ayu or any other aggressive night wolf. Legends from other tribes told stories of wolves larger than men hunting near their villages. Several tribes reported flocks of animals, including horses, being brutally ravaged in the middle of the night. Stories of these creatures began spreading to more and more tribes across North America, though the wolves were rarely reported by anyone other than native tribes. These stories in the history of the werewolf were thought to be legends for many, many years, until a string of modern werewolf sightings beginning in 1936 changed everything. Yep. And this is from Wisconsin. This is there you go. That's the story. Like I said, I like to find as early as I can. If you can find legends like this that really describe where this began, that's the stuff that really gets my mind moving because, yeah, what does that mean? So there was an actual Native American god that supposedly gave this power to two friends hunting. And they were able to change into wolves, and the only condition was you cannot use this power against other people. And as always, right, you can't give power to people and tell them not to do a particular thing with it, because what's the first thing people do with it? Exactly what you told them not to. I think this goes back to, I don't know, the apple in Eden and all kinds of things, right? So I don't know. I think this is a pretty cool story to start with how this begins, all right? And I do like the origin stories of, even if, maybe it isn't the earliest, but it is a way of describing where the first werewolf may have come from. And I don't know, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about the story? Again, what is your favorite werewolf movie? Do you think this is even real? Going back in any length of time here into history, do you think that shapeshifters are a thing and all the rest of this? You tell me. Love to hear from you if you want to be part of the show. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can join the Discord at troubledminds.org, and we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. All right, so there's more. Let's get back to how to become a werewolf. Now that we've got the origin story of the original werewolf. All right, let's see. All right, so we've got the seventh sons. If you're the seventh son of a seventh son, they say that there's some sort of blood affliction that turns you into a werewolf. All right, the other one is the infection, of course, from the bite of a werewolf that will have some kind of pathogen, maybe come into your blood and change you into this wolf-type shape changer sort of situation. And, of course, we know the tropes of the full moon, right? You change uncontrollably on the full moon and devour, other people, as it were. Okay, here we go. Let's see. In werewolf films, this is again from hellhorror.com, in werewolf films, it is not always clear whether the werewolf infects the victim with the disease or the person must be under some other curse. Some claim that simply having food prepared by a lycanthrope is enough to transfer the infection. So maybe it doesn't have to be a bite. It could be, I don't know, like maybe a low level on the what would you call that? What's the scale? The R0 scale. Now that we're all well versed in our pathogens, the infectivity rate. Let's say it's a low infectivity rate, of course, or we'd have werewolves all over the place. But maybe it's as simple as that. Let's see. Old folk tales of a god's curse mixed with the modern disease of rabies. The situation states that a person is bitten by a mad dog or other animal and becomes mad and savage, thus taking on the characteristics of an enraged animal or beast. In the movies, this sort of transference is seen from the bite of a werewolf, similar to that of a mad dog infected with rabies. There you go. So I know it seems outlandish, but we're talking about lycanthropy tonight. And if you think it's so outlandish, matter of fact, let's get to the clinical version of this as we continue talking, because there is an actual, there's a thing. Here you go. Here, hold on. Let me get this for you. Let's get this. All right. So this is actually a thing. You guys may be surprised that this is a thing, but it is. This is based in reality, meaning this. This is from Britannica.com. Lycanthropy is a mental disorder in which the patient believes he or she is a wolf or some other non-human animal. Undoubtedly stimulated by the once widespread superstition that lycanthropy is a supernatural condition in which men actually assume the physical form of werewolves or other animals, the delusion has been most likely to occur among people who believe in reincarnation and the transmigration of souls. Oh, I see. Usually a person is deemed to take the form of the most dangerous beast of prey of the region, the wolf or bear in Europe and northern Asia, the hyena or leopard in Africa, and the tiger in India, China, Japan, and elsewhere in Asia. But other animals are mentioned too. Both the superstition and the psychiatric disorder are linked with belief in animal guardian spirits, vampires, totemism, witches, and werewolves. The folklore, fairy tales, and legends of many nations and peoples show evidence of lycanthropic belief. And there you go. It's real. It's a real affliction, guys. It's a real thing. And if you don't think so, Look it up yourself. It is a real thing. They call it a mental condition, of course, right? That's what this is all about. It's a mental condition, and where this comes from, I don't know. You tell me. Let's see. Ronald says, wasn't there a couple of boys in Brazil that had a disorder that caused them to grow thick hair all over their bodies? And yes, I think there is something like that too, something different, but it does kind of get lumped into this actual into the legend here, but I think it's something completely different. It's just about some sort of a genetic mutation where you're exceptionally hairy. What's up, Just Chaos? I see you in the chat. Thanks for showing up tonight. All right, so that's what's on my mind. How on earth does one become a werewolf? And again, going back to, like I said, we started with the most famous, let's say the earliest werewolf tale of where the shape changing from people to wolves became a thing. And what do you think about this? Do you think this is likely? Do you think this is not? Do you think it's just a psychiatric condition? And I'll get to an actual outbreak that happened recently. And because, of course, right, they track these things because it ends up in medical journals, if you can believe that. And you'll never believe where this outbreak has recently happened. We'll get to that in a moment. But so you guys tell me. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's fun to kind of go down these rabbit holes a little bit and not just think in terms of the generic way of what Hollywood says about something in particular, werewolves, as it were, because the actual mythology and folklore here goes deep, like incredibly deep. And so I think that, like I said, doing it in this form gives us a little bit more leeway to kind of go through some of these legends and tales and seek out where this stuff actually came from. And I think that's pretty more important regarding kind of getting to the bottom of this. At least, learning a little bit more about some basic Hollywood tropes, right? What's up, Josh says, Wolf Boys, and they are from Mexico. The whole family has the hair. Talking about that other affliction, the condition. Let's see. Just Chaos wants to know, how do you know you have been bitten by a werewolf and not just a sick person? The mind is a powerful thing. And I think that's part of this too, is as always, right? Do you think it is just an affliction of the mind, meaning like the clinical version of lycanthropy is exactly that? Like we fool ourselves. It's some sort of maybe psychotic disorder where we believe in things that are not real. Maybe like maybe alternate personalities, things like this. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe that's part of what's going on with this. I don't know. So that's what's on my mind tonight. What do you guys think? And again, we're talking about your favorite werewolf movies as well. Like I said, I'm going to go with American Werewolf in London because I just recently saw it and I haven't seen a ton of werewolf movies. So I'm going to just call it that and say that's my favorite werewolf movie because why the hell not? It was pretty good, and the scene in the theater near the end really had me chuckling a little bit. So there we go. So your thoughts on this? 702-957-1037, troubledminds.org, and we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. All right, some other ways you can actually become a werewolf. Let's continue with some of this. I know there's a lot here, and it's fun to kind of go through it because I've literally got enough to go 5 hours here, so I can just keep on trucking. But as you guys know, I'd rather hear your theories on this, your takes on what this is. Do you think it's real or just old wives' tales sort of situations, or mythology, as it were, or do you think this is based in some sort of reality? Very much like we say many times that it seems that mythology is based on reality. So you tell me. So here's another way to actually become a werewolf. Incantations. These incantations, it says, note, these incantations, this is back from hellhorror.com, these incantations are supplied as examples to support their relationship with magical practices. They are known ineffective without the ointments, magic, salves, and other parts of the rituals. Quoted by Sakharov from the old Russian charm, which is to be spoken by one who wishes to invoke the moon goddess and become a werewolf. So I don't know, should I read this? What do you guys think? Should I read this? So it says it remains inert from the moment you actually, I'll put it on the screen. How about that? I don't want to read it and turn anybody into a werewolf. But without the actual rest of it, the ointments and magic salves and the rest of this as part of the ritual, they have the actual words of the spell to turn one into through incantation into a werewolf. So there it is. I'll leave it on the screen for just a second. As we say, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What are your favorite werewolf movies? What do you think about the mythology? And what do you think about just this entire lycanthropy conversation? What's up? Just Chaos says, old tales are not based on truth. It is based on one's personal story. Good stuff there. Appreciate that. And so I don't know. What do you think about this? That's the question here. We'll get into some more of this. I'm not going to read this. I'm not into reading spells over the internet, as it were, because, well, who knows? And I'm not saying I believe it, but I'm saying that I don't want to turn anybody into a werewolf by accident. Let's say that, whether I believe it or not. Okay, let's see. Jay Winch is like, read it. Okay, we'll get onto this in just a sec. All right. So, all right, Jennifer, I got you on the phone, but we're literally about to go to a break in about 2.5 minutes. So you want to hang on till after? I hate to cut you off like I did last time. I'll give you the option. If you want to begin, let me know, and then we'll put you on. And then go back to you after the top of the hour. But okay, so we are taking your calls on this lycanthropy. How do you become a werewolf? And then we'll get into as we go tonight in this conversation. If you end up if you end up turning into a werewolf through one of these methods, is there a way to break that spell or break that curse? So we're going to talk about that as we go tonight. That's what I was looking into, because like I said, sometimes you have these conversations and they're just very cursory because, you're kind of going with the Hollywood tropes and the rest of this stuff. So, okay, let's go to Jennifer. We'll see what she wants to do here. Jennifer in Missouri, welcome to the show. Did you catch what I said there? We're kind of coming to a break, so there's a couple minutes. We can wait till after the break. It's up to you.
Yeah, I did. I heard you.
Okay. All right. So what do you want to do? You tell me. We're on the phone, so it's too late now. Go right ahead.
Oh, well, I don't know. I think werewolves are my favorite monster. It's like one of my favorites. I think everybody loves the werewolf. My favorite movie is Silver Bullet.
Silver Bullet. Yeah, I've never seen it. People in the chat that seems to be the favorite out there. I don't know enough about it to comment, but you can help me there, I'm sure.
Oh no, it's an old movie. I think it's like 82 or something. It's got like Gary Busey, I think. It's got one of the Coreys. He's in a wheelchair, and somebody in the town is a werewolf. And it's like this little town. It's Stephen King, but it's great, classic. First one I ever saw, and it was like, and I watched it over and over and over and over. So it was just like the best werewolf movie ever. Nice. But I had stuff about the werewolf. I was just going to say that because we only had like a few minutes.
Sure. Okay. So let's save that. So what we'll do is we have about 1 minute if you want to round out anything else. And then, so you'll wait. We'll get you at the top of the hour here in maybe 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you for being patient and waiting. Anything else to add to the conversation tonight before we do go to the break here?
I think that the wolf itself plays such a huge part in human history for some strange reason. You see it everywhere with feral children, and then like the rulers of different empires of the world. Like you have it with Genghis Khan. He was raised by wolves, supposedly. You have it with Romulus and Remus in Rome, raised by a she-wolf, a lupa. You have it just all over the place. You have the Tingriism in Mongolia, which is about like the heavenly dogs, which is what they call the wolves. And so there's all these accounts of people having these close relationships with the wolves. And it's strange with the feral children, too. The few accounts there have been, they're raised by wolves. And then the friendship between mankind and wolves and dogs is really bizarre. When you think about the werewolf syndrome and go into that.
Interesting.
But I think it's amazing that there must be something more to it, and there probably is. About the kinship between the canines and humans.
Yeah, some unspoken
and in the case of
connection.
People turning into werewolves, in a sense, like wolfmen, comes out of like Slavic and, well, not just solely, but, you hear about it in all of the old shamanistic religions, like the Nordics and everything talk about it a lot. Romania, it's huge. It's a big, big thing in Romania. They call it something else, like a Warkolok or something like that, or something.
Yeah, a lot to this. Appreciate your thoughts here. So we're here with Jennifer in Missouri. We're going to come right back to her after the top of the hour here. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for being patient with us as we take a radio break here. We'll be right back with you. Hang tight, Jen, okay? All right, got her muted. Going to keep her on the line, and we'll be back in just a moment. We're talking about werewolves tonight, and not just werewolves, of course. How do you become a werewolf? Talking about mythology, folklore, and all the rest of this. And once you become a werewolf, how do you cure the curse or the affliction? Also, what is your favorite werewolf movie? Why not? Let's talk about this. It's Halloween. We're marching toward, it's October. We're marching toward Halloween, and we're going to do this anyway. 702-957-1037. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds after the break. We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
So we got, all right, so maybe,
and they also feel them planting.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Yeah, so with the werewolf stories, it's amazing how many there are. I mean, if you look at, in the United States, you have this presentation of dogmen, which is the idea that you have that account where they seem to be permanently in that state, but they're humanoid, dog-like, werewolf-looking creatures. People say that they look classically just like the werewolf. And then you have, with the Native American perspective, that they have their own terminology for it. Some of them think that it could be like a shape-shifting type thing, but they also have the dogman stories too. And then if you go over into Europe and the European nations, they have all these stories mixed in where they are not descended from, but have a very close interaction with wolves, like where there are tribes that are linked with them, raised by them. And that's interesting because when you think about feral children and the accounts that I've heard about with feral children, like if you're researching it ever, is that they have the ability to see better at night, these children, and that they can eat raw flesh, and they run like canines do. And I think that's very strange because a human being, can't do any of that stuff, but just from being raised by wolves, somehow they take up this ability to be able to eat and tear with their teeth and all this stuff. So it's very bizarre. And then, like I said, with Rome, the origin story in that area of Italy is that they were raised by a she-wolf at this cave called something, Lupa something, I can't remember now. And that's the founders of their empire, basically right there in early Rome. And you have that same kind of tale with Genghis Khan over in Mongolia. And over there they have this thing called Tingriism,
and it's like Mongolian shamanism. It's like one of the earliest religions in Mongolia. And they even call, when they go to, they call them the heavenly dogs, which is like the way that they're like warriors that are fearless and that kind of thing. And that term, heavenly dog, is the term that they use for the wolf. But it's really strange because in Greek, they call dogs Kyons and not Lycans. And then over in Rome, it's set separate and called Lycaon. And then when you think about the Cynocephali, the accounts of that, where they're wolfmen, I guess is a good way to put it, dog-headed men that eat flesh and such. And they were a type of, warlike tribe too. So there's all these different, but I think it's strange they don't call them, Lycaon anything. They call them the Cynocephali. And then you have there's so much with it. And it makes you wonder if, and like how even today, like I have a wolf. I have a wolf dog. She's part Malamute, part wolf. And she acts like a cat, really. But she's really well behaved. I have to keep her carefully and everything, but she's a great dog. And, very sweet and loving. And so it's very bizarre that we can have these kind of close relationships, sorta, with wolves and then with canines. And then you have all these different lands, like Canaan, and it sounds kind of like canine. Sounds like it. And people say there's no connection, and so you can't really say that. But it goes on and on. And then, but the real accounts I've heard, like stories where I was like, that sounds true, was one of the best ones it was a real quick story. Anyway, there was a man terrorizing people. These hunters tracked him down. They found this man working at a tire shop and said that he had these very strange eyes and he smelled funny. People that he worked at this tire shop out in the middle of nowhere. And he lived, they tracked him to his house because I guess something happened to him. I don't know if he passed away or what the gist was. But his house was smelly and the walls were torn up. And then they found a room where he might have been chaining himself to the wall. As far as origin stories of werewolves, it seems to range everything from being born under a certain moon, like a new moon, or even a full moon. So I guess it varies. And then, or if you're conceived on Christmas or Easter, so there's all this Christianization in it as well. And then you have this other strange thing about them eating the moon, that there's some type of spirit thing going on. I've heard about that there's some kind of specter almost that look like werewolf, a humanoid wolf, I suppose. So it goes, it's huge, the whole, and it's funny that today the people aren't as into it, except for with the movies. Like I said, my favorite my Silver Bullet is probably hands down my favorite, but I like all of them. I've seen tons of them.
Yeah, so I think probably something, again, this is why we do it live. Thank you so much for bringing great information here, is I hadn't considered that kinship between the dog, which was previously genetically the wolf, and people. And there's obviously a connection there with just, clearly anybody who's been around dogs or owned dogs in their life just knows that there's sort of this kind of unspoken bond between, canines and mankind. And oddly enough, I wonder if that kinship is some sort of, we talk about weird stuff all the time, like maybe entanglement and things like this. I wonder if there's some sort of maybe, let's go a little weirdly paranormal here, kind of based in a probable, maybe scientific thing, that maybe there is some sort of connection between that mind, that canine mind, and the human mind. And so it makes sense that probably the most regarding lycanthropy, like I said, sometimes there's bears or tigers or some of these other stories, but the most prevalent, the most well-known one is with the wolf and the dog. Probably not an accident, eh?
Yeah, and like I said, with those feral children, the fact that they if anyone ever wants to look it up and look up about some of these feral kids that were raised by wolves, and some of them died. They couldn't handle the captivity. There were 2 accounts of that, and famous stories. But the important thing was that they were able to eat. They couldn't eat cooked food. like they were adapted to eat raw meat, which is almost impossible and not get sick, for a normal human being. They also would run like a wolf and could go from standing up to going down, and they could run very fast that way. And they could see in the dark. So it's very interesting that if people did have a close kinship at one point, closer than we're thinking, at some point, which just sounds very bizarre, but if it's possible, then they may have these traits as well. And then the concept that there actually may literally be a past race, a forgotten, hidden race of, this dog-headed, wolf-headed humanoid kinship almost with mankind, kind of like when you go into the Bigfoot stories or Dogman encounters type stories. So you have that going on. But if people are able to take on these, seeing in the dark, acting like a wolf, sometimes people think that they look like a wolf, like when they first saw some of these children, because of their posturing. That it is possible. I think it's conceivable that if there was some type of close kinship, people may have said, "Oh, that's a werewolf," because the person was particularly wild and was more wolf than man, or even the account that. I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I mean, it seems like it's got something to do with that there's some kind of close kinship going on, but there also are the Norse tales of them putting on like wolf skin and becoming almost possessed with the spirit of a wolf and fighting ferociously, savagely, like things that we can't think of because they were, very savage in warfare, and they didn't have weapons like we have today. They had like hands and
bones.
They may have been so ferocious.
Like
people
bone
were like
weapons. Yeah.
They were like animals,
Yeah, exactly.
So, I think as far as how you break it, you can go on and on with that too. And some people say you can't, that you can't. It's like you're born that way, or you rise up from the grave somehow and are a werewolf creature thing. That's where that vampire stuff comes from. Is from, I think, from what I've heard, the bite, carries it. It's kind of like out of the Strigoi in Romania thing, where it's kind of, I think it's called like a warkalok or some funny word like that. And now that's different than the vampire. It's a werewolf-looking thing, but in their accounts, those things are more like, well, you'd have to just look like it's like a whole spectrum of creatures, like goblins, vampires, werewolves. But then they have something else called some other weird word. But anyway, and in those accounts, they just have to and I don't know where the silver bullet thing came from, except for the silver. Oh, one last thing. They say that when the moon is red, I heard this with Romanian folklore, that's when, not just a full moon, but like when it's a red moon, that's when werewolves are actually out in the woods.
Ah. So it's more rare. It's not just a regular full moon. It's a particular full moon.
I guess.
Makes sense.
I guess it could be.
I love it. I love it. You know a lot
around here
about
we
this.
have something called the Ozark Howler.
Yes, yes.
And people who have seen it say that it looks like a werewolf, but it has horns.
So do you think it's the same thing?
So it looks like a werewolf, but it has like these weird horns or something. It's like a beast.
Yeah.
And they call it the Ozark Howler, and it's a lot of stuff about it I've heard. And
yeah.
It's pretty cool.
We'll have to get to him at some point as well. I think we did talk about the Ozark Howler a long time ago, like probably 2 years ago, but probably bring that back.
Seriously?
Why not?
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely good stuff. You were the best, Jennifer. Anything else while we got you on the phone?
No, that's everything I could think of.
Thank you so much.
I can think of about it almost, I think.
Thank you so much for the phone call.
Right.
Thanks for the great information. Have a great night. Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Talk to you soon. There you go. If you want to be part of the show, that's Jennifer in Missouri. Fantastic stuff from her, as always. Like I said, the quality callers we get on this show are top. And we're talking about werewolves tonight. And in particular, ways to become a werewolf itself. And so there's a lot of ways that have been kind of put through mythology and folklore. And again, remember, this is the weirdness of this, that there's also an actual medical term called lycanthropy, which means that people actually have some sort of mind affliction where they believe that they can shape change and become a wolf, or different creatures, actually. It's mostly wolves. It's like 90% wolves when this happens. But I'll get to that in a second. We'll talk about some of the areas where this is breaking out. But it happens. Like, this is a real thing that continues still to this day. actually in medical journals. It's been well studied. It's like goes back throughout history where people actually have this mental affliction known as lycanthropy. So it's a real thing. It's just how deep does it get going into mythology and folklore. Thank you again, Jennifer. Fantastic call. Thank you for, again, being patient with the radio breaks. Let's go to, you guys want to be part of the show? We're talking about how do you become a werewolf tonight? Because like I said, you can't talk about this around the water cooler, of course. And if you can become a werewolf, how do you cure the curse or the affliction? Let's go to 702-957-1037. Troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Let's go to Phil in Washington. Phil, welcome to the show. Thanks for being patient. How are you, my friend?
Hey, very good. Thank you. I wasn't going to call in, and then you said, well, movies. So Underworld is definitely one of those that goes into that mythos of the fight between werewolves and vampires. But and I also want to mention it. And unfortunately, I can't remember the name of this graphic novel, but it was a graphic novel in which basically these humans came down on a planet that was really cold, and they had to bond with the wolves in order to survive the weather. And they became linked. Not exactly like a werewolf kind of thing, but more, the ears would elongate and they got tufts of hair and all that stuff. So they played around with this mythos, but the most important thing that I can think of, well, first off, the skinwalkers. And I think most of this is just exactly that. It is a shaman that's gone bad. He takes on the skin of a wolf, and he goes out and kills like a wolf. So, I think that's where the mythos of it originated.
Yeah, that's actually a good take on that. I hadn't considered, because we do mix in the skinwalker on this show from time to time. But it seems like that, I don't know if you caught the story of the first werewolf was actually a Native American tale. So I wonder if there is some mix there with the skinwalker and the werewolf itself. I like your idea with that. Fantastic stuff. And so the best movie there?
I mean, no, I don't think, I think it might, I mean, there's the Loup Ligero in France. I mean, it's throughout, well, I guess. I mean, if you've come across that, or she's saying that was the first example that she found, then okay. But I kind of feel like this is an old world mythos too.
Yeah, no, I was talking about so in the first hour, I read a brief story about Native Americans and how there was basically a god that came upon a duo hunting and asked them in disguise as a human that, could you help me? I'm hungry. And they fed their kill of a deer to this god. Now, the god gave them the ability to shapeshift into wolves to hunt deer better in the future. When he crossed them the next week, and they couldn't find deer to hunt, and they were hungry. So for their kind deed to him, he granted upon them the ability to shape change into wolves, and the only condition was do not kill another human being with this. And of course, humans given powers. It happened, a quarrel in the Native American thing that was going on, their tribe, and one of them turned into a wolf and killed their friend in a quarrel, and it went bad from there. So that's the story. That's what I'm talking about. That's just a brief version, but yeah. So,
right.
Okay.
Well, I kind of feel there's the 13th Warrior. I don't know whether you've ever heard of that one.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a story about okay, so what were they going against? What was the thing that was attacking? It was men dressed in wolf. They had the wolf's claw head over with the claw, the fangs, and all that. So they were evoking the power of the wolf for their battling. So, I mean, and that just coming across that smelly old wolf hide and that crazed look in their eyes. I mean, and people are it's going to certainly scare the hell out of the women and children. Probably most of the warriors too. So I mean, it's a good tactic to do, for fighting a battle. I'm not so sure about. So if that's true, then I guess and that's a movie though, right? That's just a movie. We don't know whether it's actually based on anything.
But
I do kind of resonate with the idea that the Vikings might have had shapeshifters like that.
Yeah,
and that would have brought that mythos or that archetype into Europe, into England, France, well, all the way to Arabia, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing.
It would have been.
Yeah, there are tales of this go back thousands of years. That's the weird part. And still to this day, like I said, clinically, there's a thing called lycanthropy where people believe they have the ability to change into wolves. So it's like one of those things, right? So is it based on mythology and folklore, and it kind of gets into your head and kind of melds with some sort of a mental anguish and then becomes this thing? Or is it something that's been along for a very, very long time? I don't know. Lots of good questions.
Well, no, I'm going to tell you, they're magical beings. There's a glamour, possibly, is one term that. I know a little bit about magic. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that it's either, like I said, a shaman who went bad or a bad magician. Using those are the only ones that I know that could. They can shapeshift their energy body for damn sure.
Gotcha.
And if you're wearing a wolf hide, you wouldn't, at a distance, you're going to think wolf or wolf man. So,
exactly. Yeah. I love it. Good idea. I love your thought process here. So, okay. So, what about this? Where else do I take this? Okay, so you think it's a real thing. You think it's related to the skinwalker in some capacity. Do you think that, how do you cure it? Is it possible to actually cure lycanthropy or this shape-changing affliction or curse or whatever it happens to be?
Well, as a Reiki master of 30 years, I firmly believe that I can cure anything. Though I have never tried to cure this, so I don't know.
All right, can you do me a favor, Phil? The second you get somebody needing to be cured from lycanthropy, can you call me? just please call me immediately.
Yeah, well, if somebody's got that problem and they need help, they can just email me at philchris58@gmail.com, and I'll give them a free 1-hour session.
Okay. Perfect.
To see whether I can do anything for them.
Perfect. I appreciate that. All right. So we got about a minute left. Your final thoughts on this? Werewolves real or not?
Real in the sense that somebody can adopt I've got a spirit guide that is a wolf. So, there's that connection alone. So you've got a wolf spirit guide. You've got half of the equation right there. And then it's just a matter of doing the magic spell to get it. And then, but if you do this enough times, can you come back from it? That's the question.
That's a hell of a question. Phil, you were amazing. Thank you so much for calling. Thanks for sharing. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
You bet, man.
Have a fantastic night. Thanks, brother. There you go. You guys want to be part of the show? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange, and tonight we're talking about werewolves. Are they real? Are they fake? Let's say if you become a werewolf, how do you cure it? We're going to get to that after the break. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds coming up. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter. and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. We're taking your phone calls as we talk about werewolves tonight. That's right, but not just werewolves of Hollywood, that type of werewolf. We're talking about mythology. We're talking about folklore. We're talking about how do you become a werewolf? And if you can, how do you cure the curse or the affliction? If you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Also, if you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, let's just go with what's your favorite werewolf movie? Love to hear it and why. And we're going to keep on trucking. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's put the phone number up on the stream, and let's keep on talking about this. All right, let's go back to this one, right? Like I said, there's so much great information here, and as always, right, it just depends on really the folklore you get into. There's so many different great stories from around the world, like this incantation from Russia, by the way, which we were talking about just briefly. I'm not going to read the actual spell because I don't want to accidentally turn anybody into a werewolf. That would be unfortunate. Here's another one. A curse. How about this? The werewolf curse derives from becoming a werewolf from a magician casting a spell to change someone into a wolf. A similar case was that of St. Patrick of Ireland changing Vericius, King of Wales, into a wolf, which we've talked about in the past. Jennifer brought that up as well. And we should probably do a whole show or something to that effect in the future, because when I did run over that story, I thought it was really, really great. But the thing was, we only spent just a brief amount of time on it. So, and that's why some of these themes come up again and again, because there's so much going on with this stuff that the mythologies go deep. They go back a very, very, very long time. So here we go. There's more. So how about this? How else do you become a werewolf? And in just a moment, we're going to get to how you cure this affliction, this curse, a lycanthropy, as it were, which again is a medical condition, by the way. I'm going to get to that too. I promise. We're going to get to that before we finish this up. Okay, this is the thing: black magic and witchcraft. This is another way that you become an actual werewolf. Olaus Magnus stated that the Livonian werewolves were initiated by drinking a cup of specially prepared beer with a repeated set formula. Let's hope it's not this one I'm drinking tonight. Ralston, in his songs from Russia, has incantations in the form still familiar in Russia, which are actually a little further up in this article, which I've linked, and you can also find it already linked in the YouTube video down below here. Livonians say witches occasionally transform themselves into wolves by walking through a magic pool of water, another form of baptismal with the rebirth in animal form. Water, always the water, isn't it? South America believes it holds that certain sorcerers and witches know how to shapeshift themselves into an animal form, such as serpents, leopards, panthers, jackals, bears, coyotes, owls, foxes, and other feared creatures. They often transform to do evil things or kill their enemies, usually by drinking their blood like savages. So here we go. Here's another one. A magic salve from the Middle East, from the Middle Ages, not Middle East, from the Middle Ages. And again, we're talking about ways to become a werewolf, according to mythology, folklore, and of course the internet, which, again, as you know, if it's true, I'm sorry, I did that backwards. If it's on the internet, it must be true. Wink, wink. Here we go. The wolf, this is the magic salve. The wolf was thought of as evil in the Middle Ages and produced wild hysteria in Europe. We've talked about that, actually. Remember and actually not just the Middle Ages in Europe, but also in the Middle East with the Assyrian monster invasion. We talked about that a ways back with the Vatican archive, and if you missed that show, go check that one out. It's a nice companion to this show as well. But here we go. Thousands were accused of being werewolves in Europe, and much like the witch trials, many were tortured and executed for such crimes. Often mentioned in werewolf trials and witch trials were magic salves. After rubbing this magic salve over the body, the person would come under the influence of this strong hallucinogenic drug. The magic salve contents were absorbed into the bloodstream, in which the effects were compared to LSD. Oh, yeah. Under the influence, these people thought they were animals or that they could fly on broomsticks. Uh-oh. right? Night Stalker's got it. The magic pool of water. Go figure, right? So here's a sample recipe ingredients on becoming a werewolf. And just an idea, I'm sure we can't find this stuff in your local grocery store, so I think it's probably safe to read this. Sample recipe ingredients on becoming a werewolf to create this particular salve. Now notice the first is fat from disinterred children. Now, oddly enough, well, if we get into that becomes a dark place. So we won't go there. We'll just leave it at that. Promise you cannot find that at the grocery store, nor should you seek it out in any capacity. But then it continues. Hemlock, aconite, poplar leaves, soot or cowbane, sweet flag, cinquefoil, bat's blood, deadly nightshade, and oil. And that's the salve you're supposed to create to, of course, turn yourself into a werewolf. And MJ's got it right. What's up, MJ says, I don't want the cure. There it is, right? And somebody said earlier, why would you want to be cured? That's Nathalie. Would you want to be cured? I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. All right. So anyway, here's another one. This is a less well-known and less popular way. But how about a pact with the devil? Popular European superstition states the devil appears as a coachman whose carriage is drawn by black steeds and offers a means for the revenge that humans seek out of anger for the death of a loved one. A potion is given to the person that grants strength to exact the revenge in exchange for the only currency that the devil requires, their very soul. And there you go. There you go, right? As always, the easy way to anything is make a deal with the devil, which also I do not recommend you do. And there you go. Other traditional incantations, and this is a fascinating website, like I said. And who knows, right? Like I don't know the research level of what went into this or what have you, but I think there's some pretty good information on this, and it got my mind moving. And to me, that's the most important part, right? It's not really about I'm not trying to become a werewolf, or I'm not trying to cure myself. Even though people have speculated I'm not a real person, I'm actually an alien, or I'm actually this or that, and I know it's in jest, but I'm not looking for a cure to my lycanthropy. I'm just not. But it is a fascinating thing to talk about and think about. So, all right. So now these are certain ways, and there's a whole list. I got, again, check out, again, on YouTube, check it out, scroll down. I got all kinds of links of all kinds of wacky stuff regarding this, right? Different spells, different ways, curses, this, that, the other thing, family lineage, becoming your parents, or one of your parents are a werewolf, or both, all kinds of stuff, right? All kinds of different thoughts on how to actually become a werewolf in antiquity and all the way up through even modern history, all right? So now, what about this, though? What about how to cure lycanthropy? How do you cure this? Here we go. I'm going to link this in the chat, and you guys can follow along with if you prefer. There you go. Lazy guys got it right. Mike, I'm just an AI. I'm just another AI, right? This face you see here is not me. It's a Max Headroom style face. I'm part of the algorithm, guys. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I'm just kidding. So here we go. Let's go. Let's link in this thing if you want to check it out. Please do, because this is fascinating. Now, Waze says, here we go. Let's see, this individual on MaverickWerewolf.com has given a list of various methods in pop culture and, of course, in folklore, how to cure lycanthropy, how to cure yourself from being a werewolf. Lions, tigers, and bears, oh my. Ronald says, don't drink the brown water. All right, don't drink the brown water. All right. So here we go. Now, these do not appear in folklore, but they're Hollywood tropes on how to actually solve the affliction or the curse known as lycanthropy, which makes you a werewolf. Number one, killing the werewolf who turned you. So if you get bitten by a werewolf and this pathogen from their teeth, the saliva gets into your bloodstream and turns you into a werewolf. In Dungeons and Dragons fame, by the way, that's the way it works. You're bitten by this creature, and it has to be a near mortal wound. In Gary Gygax's fame of Dungeons and Dragons, meaning that if you get less than 10%, or if you go down to 10% of your life force, they call it hit points in Dungeons and Dragons, if you guys are interested in that. And so it has to be a near mortal wound for you to actually become a werewolf yourself. If just a simple scratch will not do it. Okay, but here we go. So then the one way to do it is killing the werewolf who turned you. And so this is absolutely not a thing for a whole slew of reasons, mostly because the whole curse transmitted by bite thing was never in folklore to begin with, according to this website. Next one. Just inject a nondescript cure. And this is from, of course, pop culture. This is from Hollywood and this type of thing. So this happens now and again in things like Van Helsing, 2004. Often they won't really specify what's in the syringe, only that, hey, it's the cure. Yep. Or else it'll be a potion or something. So, I mean, speaking of cures and syringes, no, I better not. All right. Wolfsbane. Nope. Not much more to say here except that another reminder of how the whole Wolfsbane and belladonna were never around in folklore in any capacity, according to this individual, whether as a weakness or as a cure for being a werewolf and lycanthropy, as it were. Silver, we've talked about this. We did an entire show on silver weapons and silver in folklore, and you can find that exclusively, by the way, on the podcast feed or on Rockfin. It's not available on YouTube or anywhere else. And so if you have not subscribed up to Rockfin, if you do, well, you'll get that bonus show. And by the way, we're going to do another bonus show this weekend. So it's coming. It's coming. And of course, it's going to be spooky. Maybe. You never know. You never know. Okay, anyway, here we go. Exorcism. This was sometimes used in witch trials, but never directly in something involved with werewolves. Werewolves in folklore and or historical accounts during the early modern period where lycanthropy would have been associated with Satan were generally either executed or committed to a monastery to be watched over and taken care of by the monks. And there you go. There's some actual pop culture ways from not just, of course, movies, but fiction, books, things like this, as compiled by this individual that made this fantastic website called MaverickWerewolf.com. Good stuff. Okay, so that's what we're talking about tonight, and we're taking your phone calls. I'd rather hear from you, as you know, but there's a ton to get through, so I don't mind just trucking through, talking about all kinds of crazy stuff here, because, well, that's what we do on this show. Drink a hefty dose of the maybe juice, and tonight we're talking about werewolves, and how does one become a werewolf, which we've covered a ton of, but now we're talking about cures. Actual cures. Now, those were the sort of the Hollywood tropes or the pop culture tropes on how to cure lycanthropy, werewolfism, as it were. Let's go to the ones that they say are in folklore. And here we go. Let's start with this. Actually, one more time, if you want to be part of the show, rather hear from you, like I said, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link, and we'll put you on the show. Watch on the Discord and all the chats. And, there you go. What's up, Hope Pisa? I see over there on the Fringe chat. And Wolf of J. Flywheel. What's up? Says Teen Wolf is the best show. So here we go. Now, appearing in folklore. This is the thing, all right? Let's go back to full screen on this so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Death. This is the one way to cure lycanthropy. Of course, you just kill the werewolf. Here we have the absolute most common way to cure a werewolf, if it can kind of be considered that. If you do manage to actually kill one, it says good luck, congratulations, you cured it. This is held true in most folklore as well. Number 2, killing the witch or person who cursed you. This was the case for, holy smokes, how do I say that? Guillaume de Palerne, in which the werewolf returns to his human shape when the one who cursed him is killed. This was, of course, also a werewolf that was bound to be stuck in a permanent wolf form, not an actual shape-shifting werewolf, or as much more common in media today. And this was one of the only instances of that occurring in folklore. So don't get your hopes up with this working. So, again, talking about maybe actual curses on people, okay? And then here's the third one, removing the magic item that made you turn. This is the case in Norse legends such as the tale of Sigmund and Sinfjotli, who donned wolf skins and became wolves until they managed to get those skins off again. It was also the case with Melion, who put on a cursed ring and became stuck in a wolf form. So a lot, just a few reasons here on how you cure this. And again, like I said, it's an actual thing, which we'll get to in just a second as we wrap this up. And yeah, you bet, this it's actually a thing. And I'll bring this up and talk about this in just a second. Yep, it's in an actual medical journal, Lycanthropy, and where it's happening right now. There we go. All right, so looking to hear from you guys, 702-957-1037, talking about werewolves tonight. How do you become one, and how do you cure the affliction or the curse? And let's see, who is this? That's our good friend, James Salcido of Salcido Paranormal. What's up, my friend? Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
I'm good. Great topic. I mentioned in the chat my favorite movie regarding werewolves, because it's not one of my favorite things, but the first Underworld movie was very interesting.
Underworld was good, man. Was good. Yeah, I actually I forgot about that one. It's because it's kind of in that modern realm of the first one was the best, I think. Of course, as always, the first ones are always the best. It kind of got a little weird after that, but yeah, good stuff, right? The vampires fighting the Lycans, as it were, the actual werewolves, right?
Yeah, and of course, like any good decent movie, there was more going on there than just that. So that was what made it interesting.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. And don't forget Kate Beckinsale. All right.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt, does it? It doesn't hurt, does it? Okay, so the thing is this now. We talked about all kinds of stuff, how you become a werewolf and all the rest of this. What are your thoughts? Is it? Do you think this is possibly a real thing, going back to folklore mythology, or do you think it's maybe like the actual clinical term of lycanthropy, like the mental condition, where people think that they are, they think they're a wolf, or they can change into these creatures? How do you think this actually shakes out in reality here?
If you have something like that in the medical field, then I definitely can't doubt that. There's already stories of people changing into many different things from mythology and across history, so I can't see why there wouldn't be werewolves at some point. There's also something now that I don't know if it's the same thing or not, but the most recent thing, a version of that, seems to be something called the Dog Man.
Yes.
And that's also interesting, because those also seem to have, in some cases they seem to be just creatures, but in others they have paranormal abilities to kind of vanish and reappear and all that stuff. So I think that it's possible the paranormal could be part of the mix as well.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it, right? Like we've talked about.
My cat.
What's up, cat? What's up, Logan? The thing is with the paranormal too. If you end up like this, right? If you end up considering that things can be possessed, okay, like we talked about walk-ins and things like this, like definitely spiritual sort of possession from malevolent entities. Could it actually be something like this? Like maybe it is. Maybe, all the things we talked about on how to become a werewolf, maybe it's not any of that at all, and it is some sort of actual demonic possession. What do you think about that?
That's possible, or even just some kind of a negative animal spirit, maybe, of some kind. I don't know. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, for sure. So, Underworld, you got a second favorite werewolf movie?
No, not really. Like I said, it's not my genre of interest mainly, but yeah, no, that one was really good. Just the connections and the ways the two groups interacted and everything was, and the fact that it was in fairly modern times. I like that as well.
It does help. Here's a good one too. If you haven't seen it, look for Brotherhood of the Wolf. It's called Pacte des Loups in French, and it's a hybrid story. It's peeled from history based on a true story in France. I think it's the 1700s, 1800s. Can't remember exactly the date, the time frame. But there was like a wolf, like actual outbreak of wolves just slaughtering people in a particular area in France. And so that's a pretty good one too. I thought it was fantastic. A little bit of kung fu and some spiritualism and spell casting and in the wolves, of course. So I thought it was pretty good stuff. If you've never seen that, guys, I recommend that one. Like I said, I'm the guy. Trust me. everybody says, oh, see this, see this. I've seen like 10 movies in my life. If I tell you see it, well, you should probably see it. See Interstellar, see Brotherhood of the Wolf. All right. What else you got? What else you got as far as werewolves here? Any other thoughts or ideas on what we're talking about tonight?
No, that was it. But great show. Thank you for having me, as always.
Pleasure's ours. James Salcido, check him out at Salcido Paranormal. He's going to be on the show next Thursday, and we're going to be talking about more paranormal stuff. So stay tuned there, and come go check him out. Salcido Paranormal. The link is actually right down below on YouTube. It's already there. Scroll down, click it, give James some love. Thanks, James, for calling. Thanks for listening, bro. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, man. There you go. Have a great night. All right, so this is the thing, right? We got a couple minutes left. As we wind this down, you guys know this is about weird stuff. This is about having conversations that, like I always say, you just can't have at the water cooler. They're going to call HR. They're probably going to have you arrested. They're going to come get you, right? They're going to get you. Like these people think about these crazy things. They're going to get you. Well, we don't have to do that. We got a safe place here to talk about some crazy things, and sometimes if you really dig into it, it doesn't seem so crazy, does it? It doesn't seem that crazy at all. Meaning, of course, let's go to this. I promised you some actual medical journal stuff. Here it is. This is from pubmed.ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. And medical journal. This is the National Library of Medicine, National Center for Biotechnology and Information. Yep, here it is. This is from December 4th, 2008. Lycanthropy, alive in Babylon. The existence of archetype. Look at this. Abstract. Lycanthropy is the belief in the capacity of human metamorphosis into animal form. It has been recorded in many cultures. Apart from historic description of lycanthropy, there has been several case reports described in the medical literature over the past 30 years. Method. We identified 8 cases of lycanthropy in 20 years, mainly in the area of Babylon, Iraq. The results from this paper here. The most commonly reported diagnosis was severe depressive disorder with psychotic symptoms. The type of animal that the patients changed into were mainly dogs, 7 cases, and only 1 case changed into a cow for the first time to report. And the conclusion here from this paper, lycanthropy delusion is a rare delusion but appears to have survived into modern times with possible archetypal existence. Yep. And of all places, alive in Babylon. Weird. Weird. All right, so we're going to finish this up. As you guys know, we just get together 4 nights a week and talk about weird stuff, crazy stuff, amazing stuff, and let our mind take a little bit of a walk, as it were. And that's what this show's really about. It's about all those things and considering the possibilities of mythology, of pop culture, of, even science, and creating, hopefully, a fascinating conversation. So thank you guys so much for all of the enthusiasm in the show. We get so much love here. So many people enjoy the things we do and the things we talk about. But when I say we, I truly mean we. Now, all you have to do is rewind or listen to any show in the past year, and we have so many fantastic, amazing callers that call in and take these conversations to places I had never considered myself, and just tonight is a perfect example of that. So thank you guys so much for calling in and being part of this. Thanks for all your love and all your time. Like I always say, you could always be doing a million other things, but instead, here you are talking about strange things on the internet with the rest of us at Troubled Minds. And so as we finish tonight, the way this is if you're listening on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop, Lighting the Void. And if you're listening on any other platform, including the podcast or any of the live streams tonight, stay tuned for a 3rd hour of Troubled Minds. We're still talking about this. I got all kinds of stories to get into, and we're going to keep doing it. And we're still taking your phone calls, which is the best part of this entire show. So, as we finish this up, you know the drill. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. right. Here's what's up. We got one more hour of Troubled Minds coming up. We're still taking your phone calls if you want to be part of the show. 702-957-1037. We're talking about werewolves. And again, right, werewolves, there's so many things here. There's so many great movies. There's so much great pop culture to really draw upon here. So much mythology and folklore that we can kind of lean into. And the question that was on my mind tonight is, how do you become a werewolf? Other than, right, just getting bit. That's the thing, right? They say, yeah, you get bit. You turn into a werewolf, right? Dungeons and Dragons fame says it needs to be a near mortal wound. Many other things. It could be just a scratch, and that pathogen from the teeth, from the saliva of a werewolf, is enough to turn you into another werewolf. Well, it just depends. Depends on who you ask, as always, and we're going to keep on trucking talking about this stuff. But as always, your ideas are the most important. So the questions tonight are this. How do you become a werewolf? First, actually, do you believe a werewolf is real in any capacity? Or is it just restricted to folklore and that's that? That's okay. We're okay with that. Like I said, drinking the maybe juice doesn't mean we believe it all. It means we consider the possibility, okay? And then so second, if you do believe they're real or not, how do you think even in pop culture, folklore, or whatever, you become a werewolf, all right? Simply, like I said, it's not about just biting. Maybe it's about other things, curses or family lineage or what have you. And then, of course, if you can become a werewolf, is there any way to cure the affliction? So there we go. We're just kind of hanging out, talking about this stuff and doing our thing. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take a quick break. So we're going to take a 2-minute break here at the beginning of the third hour. Allow everybody to hit the restroom, tuck the kids into bed, refresh your top off your drink, whatever it is, and we will be back with more Troubled Minds and your phone calls in 2 minutes. So quick 2-minute break. More. I got stories. I got tons of stuff. There's so much great information about this out there that, again, right, I don't know what's real and what's not, but we're here talking about it. We're here thinking about it. And yeah, there it is. Lily says, how do you cure it? You get a haircut. You get a haircut. Yeah, Monica Bellucci in the Brotherhood of the Wolf, Beauty and the Beast. If you guys have never seen that one, like I said, I've seen like 10 movies in my life, and Brotherhood of the Wolf is one of them, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Okay, so which I should actually go back and watch because it was that good. But okay, here we go. Let's take a 2-minute break. We'll be right back. Taking your phone calls, 702-957-1037, troubleminds.org. Click the Discord link, and we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. And let's go. Let's do it. Let's see. What else do we got? All right. Let's go. Taking a break, and we will be right back. Here it is. We're going to do this. All right. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we're taking your phone calls. We're talking about, of course, werewolves. Ah, the werewolves. It seems like this isn't as magical to you as it is to me. Phone line's a little bit quiet tonight, and no hot takes, eh? So what do you think? I don't know. Like I said, we're talking about your favorite movie. I kind of figured we wouldn't have, maybe in particular, like some hot takes on this, but we, because it's a little niche. It's a little in depth, right? Pardon my French, but I think that the thing is that that's why I included into the questions. What is your favorite werewolf movie and why? And so that's what we're talking about tonight. If you want to be part of the show, we're still taking your phone calls and having this conversation. We'll continue the show as long as you guys are interested. Like I said, no use me dragging this out and struggling through a third hour when I could be, I don't know, playing video games, and you guys are not interested. So like I said, I always say this, you can't hit a home run every time, and that's just the way it is. So if you guys are interested, what's up? Adonis says, I'm still here, busy eating an apple. Let's see. What's up, guys? With the the bunny, right? The bunny that bit you. Yeah. Let's see. Ronald says Mike does look like Max Headroom in a way. What's going on, guys? So let's see. What else do we got? Let's go to the chat and say hi. Let's make it a social stream. How is everybody? Sojourner Truth says Werewolf 2-Step. Good Cajun tune by the Pine Leaf Boys. There it is. There it is. Let's see. Matt says, Night Stalker, you should trademark that and write a story about that. Cryptid Wars. Bat Out of Hell says, but I believe in shapeshifters and all that, or Wolfman, but werewolf seems demonic like a spirit. What's up, Bat Out of Hell? Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for showing up tonight. Let's see. Yep. What else? Of all things I find believable, this subject is not one. Okay, cool. Gotcha. That's fine. Maybe that's why, right? People are like, get out of here, Michael Strange. Get out. This is bullshit. And that's fine. It's, again, like I said, this is not really about any of the rest of that stuff. River says, some say kings of Ossory of East Ireland are direct descendants of Lagneck Fyland, I'm not saying that right, Phalid, a fearsome warrior who frequently shapeshifted into a werewolf. And rumor has it that King John was cursed, poisoned by a monk who turned into a werewolf after his death. Interesting. Good stuff there. What's up, Right On 4456? I see you over there on a D Live. What's happening? Thanks for showing up. Lazy Guy X says, Native Americans believe they were ancestors of the wolf, bears, and eagles. And yes, definitely good stuff. What else is going on? Checking out the chat. Like I said, I kind of had a feeling. I really, really dig the werewolves, but, some people are maybe put off. Phil says, I remember the Brotherhood of the Wolf. It was a good flick. Yes, it definitely was. Let's see. What else? Matt says, my favorite werewolf movies are Ginger Snaps 1, 2, and 3. Is there really a movie called Ginger Snaps? Like, are we? I thought you were kidding me. I've never seen it or heard of it. Let's see. What else do we got? KC Wolf says, AKA 71. Just kind of reading the chat, hanging out. Let's see. There you go. Monica Bellucci. Yep. And Brotherhood of the Wolf. Check it out. What's going on, guys? River says, my favorite is Japanese animation, Wolf Children. And I can buy that. That sounds legit enough to probably beat most of the Hollywood stuff, unfortunately. How about Dog Soldiers? Anybody seen Dog Soldiers? I've heard that that's my buddy AJ's favorite. One of his favorites for as far as that goes. So I was kind of getting into some of those werewolf stories recently, and I started watching this one, and I actually ended up finishing it, unfortunately. But it was called what was it called? The Island of Werewolves, or the Isle of Werewolves, something like this. And where was it? It was on Amazon or on Netflix. I can't remember. But I started watching it, right? And it starts with like a witch on an island, and I'm like, oh, this is hot already, right? This is amazing. But then it just got worse from there. I was like, oh, shit. Like, this is bad. And unfortunately, spoiler alert, there was no werewolves at all in the damn movie. I was like, wow, what kind of bullshit is this? So that turned me off, and I stopped watching werewolf movies. So there you go. All right, so the girl's name is Ginger, and she becomes a werewolf. So Ginger Snaps. I see. All right, that's cool. What's up, Penny? Thanks for linking the Discord. Do join the Discord. And what's going on? The Howling, says Brian After Dark. Never seen The Howling. All right, so we got more to get to, which I'll get to. Of course, there are werewolf stories. There's folklore. There's all kinds of things. How do you cure this? There's other ways. Okay, so of course, if you could cast a spell to create some sort of curse on somebody, then of course, well, I say of course, I presume, let's say, I don't know the answer to this because I just don't know the answer to much. But I will tell you, if you can actually do it, you can probably undo it, right? If you can curse somebody, you can uncurse somebody. I would expect the opposite to exist as well. So I don't know. We'll keep talking about this. And what's up? Penny says The Howling, best werewolf movie ever. Classic. All right. I love that. Love it. But all right, here we go. Lycanthropy Alive in Babylon. There you go. If you don't believe me, I'll link this in the chat, and you guys can check it out yourself. Because I'm telling you what, it's a real thing. All right, let's go over to where are we at? Here we are. There we go. All right, Ronald says, as an auto body technician, a show on the mystery of the missing 10mm sockets would be intriguing. Well, there you go. We can double team that one with the case of the missing dryer socks. We'll do both. We can do both in the same show. What's up? Right on 4456 says, of course there are werewolves you never heard of. Teen Wolf. Yeah, right. Michael J. Fox. I've actually seen part of that one. It was so long ago and clearly terrible, but we should be able to laugh at ourselves as well. All right, so let's go. There's more here. Let's keep on trucking. Like I said, if you guys are going to make me work way too hard, then we'll just kill this and we'll come back next week and try harder. But let's see. There's more. Wolf's Bane. There's a lot of really great websites regarding this stuff. What do you want to know about? Do you guys want to talk about the history of lycanthropy, actually, and then maybe the medical condition? Do you want to talk about? I got a list of actual real quote werewolf stories. Do you want to talk more about how to become a werewolf or how to break that spell? What's on your mind tonight? What do you guys want to hear about? What do you want to talk about? As you guys know, this is your show too, and that's what's on my mind tonight: werewolves, because it's October, and here we go, marching slowly and steadily towards Halloween. You can't stop it. If you guys learn how to stop it, let me know. Let me know. I want to know how to stop time, because that would be an amazing power. But okay, let's see. What else do we got? Wolfsbane. We got that. We got the werewolf itself. Lycanthropy. I got all kinds of stuff. How werewolves work. I don't know. You guys tell me. Real werewolf stories. All right, let's do that. Let's go to this list. All right, we're going to read some of these. Like I said, still taking your phone calls if you guys want to be part of the show. 702-957-1037. Troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link, and let's go. Do some real werewolf. 10 real-life werewolves. Number 10. Let's go with this. Gilles Garnier, again, pardon my French. In the 16th century town of Dole, a proclamation was publicly read in the town square. Its contents gave permission for the people to track down and kill a werewolf that had been terrorizing the village. While walking through the forest, a group of peasants heard the screams of a small child, accompanied by the howling of a wolf. When they arrived, they saw a wounded child fighting off a monstrous creature, whom they later identified as, I'll say, Gilles Garnier. When a 10-year-old boy disappeared in the vicinity of Garnier's home, he was arrested and confessed to being a werewolf. He was then burned at the stake. There you go. And that's a real one. Here you go. Here's Wikipedia has a few more details on this werewolf here. And there you go. Apparently, again, right, if Wikipedia has it, it's a real thing. Clearly, right? And if it's on the internet, it can't be. It has to be true. So there you go. There's the actual link to that if you guys are interested. And this is what I'm saying, right? There's some actual stories that go back to this regarding different things. And like I said, that Brotherhood of the Wolf, that's another one. So maybe that's in this list here. Let's see. Wink, wink. Maybe it's in this list. All right, so there we go. There's one. Does anybody else have werewolf stories? Does anybody else know one? We've talked about the Dogmen on this show. We've talked about, of course, the Ozark Howler. We've talked about that. We've talked about Old Shuck, which, of course, is a werewolf that was described as possible werewolf/dogman that ran around and almost brought down a church and started a fire in England back in the 1700s, I want to say. There are stories here. There are stories regarding this stuff. But there's more, so I'll keep on going. This is from Listverse. It's 10 actual real werewolf stories. What's up, Sojourner Truth on YouTube says, Wolfen with Albert Finney was a good film. Not exactly about werewolves, but about an ancient race of supernatural wolves living and hunting in New York City. I love it. Sounds good to me. What else do we got? Looking through, reading the chat, hanging out, taking your calls. 702-957-1037. I'll burn through a couple more of these. And like I said, don't leave me hanging, fam. Don't leave me hanging. Let's see. Let's go here. 702-957-1037. Let's do this. The Greifswald werewolves. According to old records, in 1640 AD, the German city of Greifswald became overrun with werewolves. The population of these beasts grew so large that any human who ventured out after dark was in danger of being accosted by one of them. A group of students decided that they had had enough and devised a plan. They gathered all their silver goblets, plates, buttons, etc., and melted them down for bullets. Armed and ready, they struck out into the night to challenge the werewolves. After it was over, the people of Greifswald once again could venture out at night. And there you go. Right? Jennifer says it's only like thousands of years of history and folklore, right? Yeah, whatevs. Whatevs. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. It's fun. The more you look back into this too, there's stories and stories and stories and stories about this. It's pretty amazing stuff. So if you guys are looking for these stories, where I'm getting them from, and I'm sure there's more on this, you could probably do like deep dives into each of these stories. I'll bet you there's different sources and where they came from and all the rest of this. Clearly, we don't have time for all that because I'd rather take your phone calls, as I've said 100 times tonight. 702-957-1037, and we can do a little bit more of these werewolf stories, real werewolves, as it were. And that's what's going on. So I don't know. So what is your favorite actual werewolf movie tonight? What do you? That's what we're talking about. What do you believe regarding werewolves? Do you think they're curses? Do you think that, again, like we said, maybe possessions, things like this? What's actually happening with this? Is it just simply mythology and folklore that is a good story? Nothing like a good story, right? Especially when things start to get dark, the sun goes down a little bit earlier, things go bump in the night, all that, right? All right, let's go. This is a again from this Listverse actual article here. In 1685, the Bavarian town of Ansbach was being terrorized by a large, vicious wolf. The rumors were that the wolf was actually a werewolf whose identity was that of the town's dead mayor. When the wolf was killed, the people of Ansbach dressed the wolf's carcass to resemble their mayor. It was then put on display in the town square and later moved to a museum. There you go. There you go. Let that be a lesson to all you wolves who would terrorize a village. You may get killed and dressed up like the town's mayor and put in a museum. 702-957-1037. Talking about werewolves. And again, how do you become one? If you become one, how do you break the curse or the affliction? And again, like we said tonight a few times, did you know that actual lycanthropy is a medical condition? And it's been throughout history. So I think maybe there's something to this. At least the medical journals agree, right? Trust the science, they say, right? Trust the science. That's the term here. So, okay, there's more here. I don't know. We can go to more of these stories, but you guys tell me. What do you want to do? What do you want to talk about? This is your show, too, and just hanging out, kicking it, reading the chat, and I agree. This is fun. Thinking about this stuff, reading these stories, and I love it. I love it. I absolutely do. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here doing it, right? Exactly. All right. Exactly. Okay. Let's go to something else. Let's see. The many ways to become a werewolf. There's a bunch here. Let's go through some of these. Now, this is some pretty good stuff too, because this is right on where we're talking about. Actually, I got a conspiracy theory. How about this? Wear a lot of silver, says Lily. But check this out. How about the silver trope came from the first Ponzi scheme? How about that? When they're like, all right, guys, check it out. Here's what we're going to do to beat down this werewolf. I need everybody's silver. Put it in the bucket. I'll melt them down. We'll make some silver bullets, and we'll go get this sucker. What do you think? The first Ponzi scheme? Maybe. All right, let's see. Bat Out of Hell says, I have a theory. Yeah, call 702-957-1037. Going to go through just a quick list of other ways to become a werewolf. Being bitten by another werewolf, of course. Being scratched or clawed. Selling your soul to the devil. Wearing an enchanted belt made of wolf skin or fur known as a wolf belt. Of course, applying a magic salve to one's body. We talked about that. Black magic or witchcraft. Of course, that would be a spell or a curse being cast on you. Let's see. Eating lycanthropous flowers. Can I say that? White or yellow flowers said to be in the Balkans. Interesting. Inhaling certain potions. Simply wearing an animal's pelt. Placing a real wolf pelt on one's body and drinking beer mixed with blood. Oh, dear Lord. Let's not do it. Let's not do that. Drinking water from a wolf's paw print. Now, this is interesting, too, because that one in particular, drinking water from a wolf's paw print, I can't even say it, is not only an affliction where they say you can catch this and turn into a werewolf yourself, but I've also read in different places that this is how you cure it. One of the only ways to cure lycanthropy is to take water from the paw print of a wolf and drink this water, and it will act as a sort of a cure for the curse or the affliction. Here we go. There's more. Other ways you can be, again, this is from a list from werewolves.com. Where else are you going to get the information, right? Werewolves.com. Let's see. Eating the brains of a wolf, they say will do it. Spells and rituals will turn you into a werewolf. Having sex with a werewolf. There we go. Let's get into to blood, sex, magic, right? So many things seem to go there, even when we talk about robots. Here's another one. I do not recommend this. This is horrific. Eating an unborn fetus. Don't do that. Wearing a belt made of the skin of an executed criminal. Interesting. And these are ways to become a werewolf, of course. We're just reading through a list here. Being cursed by a witch or troll. Here's one. Being born on Christmas Eve. Oh, dear Lord. Not that. Not that. How many people do you think have been born on Christmas Eve? Probably a lot now. Jeez. Being blasphemous and getting cursed for your sins. Uh-oh. Is that that's God bringing down judgment? Let's see. Genetics, having a werewolf in your family. Drinking from a lycanthropous stream. Drinking downstream from wolves. Uh-oh. That's also not good, right? Sleeping on a Friday night under a full moon with the moon shining directly on your face. That's another way. Bat Out of Hell says this. I feel that the creature they caught had escaped a lab or left his band, and it was solo, but I don't know. It doesn't seem as though they knew of him. A farmer had taken night, no flash pictures. What's up? Lily says, Fenrir, also called Fenrir Sulfur, monstrous wolf of the Norse mythology. He was the son of the demonic god Loki and a giantess Angerboda. According to the one version of the myth, Fenrir will devour the sun, and in the Ragnarok, he will fight against the chief god Odin and swallow him. And there we go. Continuing Bat Out of Hell's theory. And next thing you know, they were investigating it, and they trapped and captured it, and my friend was all excited, but afterwards could not tell me anything when I was asking. Wait, what? So this was a real thing, and you got no information from an actual werewolf hunt? What's going on here? What's going on here? Okay, yeah, call in. Love to hear that. 702-957-1037. Thank you, Lily, for the Fenrir stuff. I think I had a little blurb in the beginning here. What else? Let's see. Being the seventh son. We heard that. The seventh son of a seventh son will curse you into being a werewolf. Being a child conceived under a new moon. Another way. Not going to confession for 10 years. Oh, shit. I am wrecked. I'm 2 werewolves or 3. Let's see. What am I doing here? Nope, that's not what I want. I want that. Yeah, okay, all right. I just messed everything up. Okay, whatever. All right, so what we're going to do is keep doing this, talking about this until I get tired, because I need some help. 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show, and you can be part of it. Other ways, tasting human flesh. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Being chosen by the Native American wolf spirit. And this is, again, a list from werewolves.com, ways to become a werewolf, which is what we're talking about tonight. And like I said, I don't know. The weirdness of this and the fun of this is kind of doing it in this forum, being able to talk to you guys. But I know it is very niche. It is very, very niche, and it's not something people know a ton about, other than, like I said, the Hollywood trope type stuff. So that's what's up. So looking to hear from you guys if you want to be part of the show. 702-957-1037, and just here sipping my Halloween mug and having a hell of a time talking about werewolves. So let's go to let's see. I'm not sure who this is, but let's go to this individual. I've got a phone call. Welcome to the show. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Mike. I'm gonna go by Pat.
Sorry, you cut out. One more time. You're gonna go by what name?
Pat.
Matt?
Can you hear me good?
Yeah, kinda. You said Matt or Pat, right?
Yeah, P-A-T, Pat.
Pat. All right, Pat. Pat, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Thank you for calling in tonight. What are your thoughts on this stuff?
Yeah, I was just interested in like all the subjects and stuff we always have going on, and like the werewolf one, I'm not too like keen on that. Like I've heard of the Wolfman and all of that, but a long time ago, back in the like late '90s, a friend of mine was an investigator, and they did a lot of work around I'm not going to say names, like change the names and stuff to protect the innocent. But it was on a reservation in Oklahoma, and they studied like a lot of paranormal activity and stuff like that. Like paranormal would be ghosts, and then like UFO, like I don't know what you'd call that. But they were studying a lot of things. Anyway, he was the main investigator, and a lot of different paranormal and stuff would come up. And one time he showed me pictures and told me a story of because he showed me the picture and said, "Tell me what you see." And I couldn't really picture it out, but you could tell there was like a person standing there, and it was strange because he looked like he had like clothes, like torn werewolf clothes of all things. But he must have been bothering the farmer's cattle or something had been going on. And am I still there, Mike?
Still here. We're listening. Go right ahead.
Yeah, okay. And I remember he showed me that picture one evening, and he's like, "What do you see on there?" And I was like, "Well, it looked like a werewolf or a wolf." Or, I'm not sure what I said, but he told me it was a wolf man and to look real good. And I was like, "Yeah, I can see that it is him." Anyway, the farmer knew he was drinking water down at the creek at night, and he was brave enough to go down there, and he took some pictures of him without a flash. So I guess he wasn't identified or whatever. And after a while, time went by, and I remember one evening, they were always, this guy was always gone doing like taking people out and doing like late night activities. So they were always pretty busy. They were looking for Bigfoot and a lot of like phenomenon. Anyway, one time he was gone for a couple of days, and then I was wondering what was going on, and he was pretty excited. He was having lunch, and he was telling me they captured that wolf man, and they had him in a cage and out in some rural town. And he told me that the military and all that was there, and all this stuff was going on. Anyway, he left. And later, I went to ask him, well, because he was pretty excited telling the story. So I wanted to know more details and stuff. And what was strange, this guy was my really good friend, and he wasn't really able to tell me anything, like almost like he had no recollection.
That's weird. So
I always thought that was.
Yeah, that's a wild story. How come he couldn't tell you? Was he military and they made him be quiet, or what? How come he couldn't tell you?
That's what I was wondering. See, this guy came from the military, and he served 19 years in the Army, 23 years total in the military. Came back to civilian life, and right away he went straight into government work. So he was involved in some. He was on a reservation, so he had access to like open country and stuff. And I don't know how it worked out or whatever, but he had a lot of gear to like a lot of like high powered binoculars and different stuff like that to go out and scope things and all that. So they must have had an inclination that area was a hot spot for activity. So what I was thinking is that creature, maybe it's like Bigfoot, they say, comes back and forth from a dimension or whatever. Maybe that guy like escaped his realm, and that's a hot spot, like there's certain hot spots where the government maybe knows where they're at.
Yeah, that's a wild story, man. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, he was. Yeah, he was involved in a lot of like government activities, because I could tell a lot of stories. Actually, well, I was watching the show and never even thought of it, and then it popped my memory about the werewolf. There was a lot of different things that would go on. One time I went to school, and one morning he told me, I remember that he was telling me the government's doing like a lot of, what did they call them? There was a specific word for it. It was like tests or whatever. But anyway, he was like, today you're going to school, and he said, don't be scared or whatever, but no, this is the honest truth. This is what he told me. Today, when I dump you off at school, you're going to get off early. That's all he told me. He said, you're getting out of school early. And I was all excited because, like, usually you get checked out and they take you to town or whatever. So that day, I got to school, and they had the shuttle that launched in the 80s. What the heck was that one?
Challenger.
Anyway, the shuttle that blew up. Yes, Challenger. So we were all sitting there at school, and we're all viewing it on live TV. The Challenger went up and blew up. about 5 minutes later, I saw this individual smiling at me, already there at the school, already prepared to talk to us kids and do, like, you know what I mean, like, see how it traumatized us or whatever. But he told me that morning before that I'd be getting out early, and sure enough, the Challenger blew up, and they called school off, and he was already there to do work, you know what I mean?
Holy smokes, man. So
I already knew. Yeah, so I knew from that point he was heavily involved. And when we get to, like, later on down some other stories, we get to UFOs and stuff, I have some pretty interesting stuff. But that's how I knew that there was, you know, it had a lot of power over a lot of things. So what I think is, you know, like Men in Black, they either he couldn't tell or they did something, you know, like with the flasher where he couldn't remember, because it was always so strange that he wouldn't tell me, because he took me on a lot of adventures. He was a coroner, and when they had like accidents and deaths and stuff, it was back in the late 80s, early 90s, so I was able to tag along and like see a lot of things that was going on. So there's no way he would have felt like he couldn't tell me that. But yeah, I always wondered that story too. Why after they captured the Wolfman, and after that he wasn't able to tell me any details. And in that same area, there's a lot of activity. About 15 years ago on the news, all of a sudden they posted a bulletin. They said, I don't know if it was a Black Knight satellite, but they said there was a satellite that they didn't know where it was going to crash. Like, it went off course, and usually they crash in the ocean, but they wanted everyone to be on alert because there was an actual satellite that they didn't know where it was going to land. And I'm sure a lot of people remember this. It was like strange, weird news. Anyway, that thing crashed out in that same area where that activity was, and it's close to an air base, and it's about a couple 100 miles from an air base. And a guy told me the story anyway. He said that thing must have crashed out there, and a lot of military and stuff came in and swooped it up and took it out of there anyway, and they couldn't, and it didn't make the news or anything. So
that's pretty wild,
so
man.
Close to that military base.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of.
I love it. Let me ask you a question here. So you did see the photograph without a flash of this wolf thing actually drinking out of the river?
Yes, I seen there must have been a bunch of stills, and they were big. They were blown up like really big size, so you can really see them. And yes, you can make him out. You can make out that guy, because a lot of guys would call with different stories of different weird phenomenons. So like, you didn't really always know to take it serious, because I guess it was pretty common to have issues like that. And then they were looking at it, just trying to make sure, like, is this guy bluffing us or what's going on? Yeah, I could clearly make out what everyone else was seeing.
That is wild,
so I
man.
remember that one time.
That is wild. And then so they supposedly caught this thing in a cage eventually, and then after that you didn't hear anything about it. That is a wild story, man.
No.
So clearly you believe this stuff is real. You obviously believe that either dogmen or werewolves of some capacity, that this is a real thing, right?
Yes, it was some type of humanoid, but you know what I mean, a wolf type of humanoid.
Yeah, interesting. What do you think regarding like there's a lot of this, like somebody mentioned Sojourner Truth that said Native American tradition of the trickster, the shapeshifter, similar to the Wolfman. Do you think it's something like that, where it's maybe an entity, like you said, maybe Bigfoot kind of phasing between realities? Do you think it's possible that it is some sort of like trickster spirit that's making us see these things that, maybe we expect to see them as?
Exactly. That's kind of what I think, and we don't fully understand, but it must have had ties with the like the government being pretty concerned, you know what I mean, about us being in contact and stuff with entities like that. So yeah, it's tied into something like that, something with to do with the paranormal or whatever. What would we call this? It wouldn't be paranormal, but what do we call the like UFOs and stuff?
I think it's the same thing. Like if we're talking about paranormal,
Yeah.
I think UFOs are the same thing. Yeah, I wouldn't call everything the same phenomenon, but I would say that there's probably some relation. Like I always say, humans have a sloppy way of labeling things, right? We kind of try and base things on superstition and stories of the old days, which may not be wrong, but they also may not be right.
And see, it could be that just like you're saying, we're seeing UFOs or like Bigfoot, but in the fourth dimension or whatever reality, maybe there's something different. Maybe they're fallen angels and they're showing themselves to us like that or whatever. But when this guy was doing his studies, he tied a connection together with UFO activity when it would get a certain way, because it was always activity, but it would get, I guess, hot. Certain things would happen, and that's when people would have Bigfoot sightings and stuff. So it had some type of connection. I don't know if, like they send Bigfoot down to gather or what the deal is. But like they say, Bigfoot's a doctor, like a medicine man. So I really don't know what the connection was, but yeah, that was tied into Bigfoot as well.
That is an amazing
and the
story.
Wolfman, he was a totally different phenomenon. Like Bigfoot might be more of a you stand back and observe type of thing because he's friendly or not like harmful. But it was this Wolfman creature was definitely a threat. It seemed like.
Yeah, that's wild. Especially that the government is interested and maybe came down and kind of is checking out these phenomena. Man, that's nuts. That's nuts. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing that story. That's once again, that's why we do this. That's why we have the third hour, to kind of just open it up and be able to just talk to each other, tell these stories. And like you said, you didn't even remember. It kind of jogged your memory. I think that's a fascinating thing that you're like, oh yeah, I saw a picture of a dog man once. let me call in. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you much. Great show.
Thanks a lot, man. Any other theories while we got you on tonight?
Kind of a lot, but I'd rather do it on a different show. But
sure.
I don't know. Enough, I guess, that popped in. And when there was a lot of times they were out there looking for the UFOs and stuff. Anyway, one time they spotted some lights. They were out. It's like way out in the plains. It's just forever and ever. So it's just nothing but stars. And they had. And at this time, I remember a special individual came in. I guess I can say his name. He's passed away now, but it was Jesse Jackson. He was very interested in some of this stuff. He made like 3 visits with like where he came and brought a caravan of people, and then that my friend would take them out, and they would like, go out and stargaze. I don't know. I'm not sure what was going on. But I did find out that during one of those visits, there was lights out that they would see at night coming from like the city. It was the Lost City, they called it. There was lights and stuff that appeared out in the middle of the plains, and they kept trying to, I don't know, it must have had something to do with UFOs or something. But it wasn't right away. It might have been a couple of months later. Anyway, I remember again asking him, what's going on? And this time, because he'd always tell me, what was up. So that was what was strange about Wolfman. Anyway, this time he said they had a bunch of military and everything come in, and they did it. For like 3 days. They tried to find that city. They'd go in the day and they'd go at night, and there was lights out there and they're bright, and they were never able to locate them. And that was like, they called that the Lost City.
Wow. Never heard of that.
So,
can you tell us the state? Yeah. What was the state where this happened?
South Dakota.
South Dakota. Okay. Thank you. I've never heard of that. I will look into that. I'll see if there's any information about that. Maybe we'll do a show about that Lost City in the future. You were the best, my friend. Thank you so much. First time caller. You're bailing me out. Amazing stories. I'm glad you actually have some firsthand account here. So much of this is esoteric in so many ways that people kind of don't. But you're like, hey, I saw a picture of this, and I appreciate you calling in and sharing that with us.
You bet. Thank you for your time.
You as well. Thanks a lot, Pat. Great call. Great call. Oh, well, you're welcome to call anytime. We'll talk to you soon. There you go. Wow. Holy smokes, right? Caught a wolf man or a dog man or a something in a cage and brought military out and then also Jesse Jackson. Holy smokes. Like we got some stuff happening here, right? We got some stuff happening here. And I think that's why, again, like I said, these are the types of stories that kind of come out when you just let, we have some time, we have some time. Like I said, imagine if that was like done by, I don't know, 60 Minutes or something. They take his interview, they take exactly what he said, they snip out 2 pieces of like 10 seconds each, and then they tell their own narrative around it. You know what I mean? We heard it in his own words. Thank you, Pat, for calling. Amazing stuff. That was hot. And that's, again, why we do this stuff. So I don't know. What's on your guys' mind? We got a few minutes left here tonight, and I don't know. This is the type of thing that, yeah, exactly. Lily says it right in the chat there. You don't hear stories like that. Well, that's because a lot of times you can't talk about stories like that, Like, again, he said he can mention the name because the individual's passed away now. But that's kind of it, right? Like in some cases, you're implicating people in maybe, I don't know, what is this, like ritual, what would you call it, ritual stargazing? Like trying to find lost cities? I mean, whoa, right? I mean, and this is the type of stuff that will bend your mind, will make you believe some really, really wild things. Yeah, I don't know about the Challenger one. That's pretty interesting too, that this individual knew about it before it was going to happen. Yeah, what's up? Get in here, Ash. What's up, buddy? What's your take on werewolves, man? Been talking about how to become a werewolf, how to cancel the curse. You're cool, man. You're cool, Derek. You don't have to call in every time, man. We got it's okay. Like I said, it's all good. It's all good. Like I said, if we get no interest in the last half here, we'll just end it a few minutes short. But there's a ton here. Like literally, I could take just the links I have tonight, and we could do another companion show on this with a different way of looking at it. So you guys know me. Like we can get some information and talk about this and have another conversation. So we're not going to do it immediately, of course, because clearly there's not a ton of interest. We had some guys show up and pour out some maybe juice. There you go. Let's see. Let's go to Cody. Cody on Rockfin showed up with a facepalm emoji, and then I think he left. What's up, Cody? Ronald says, if I turned into a werewolf, I would probably lick myself on the couch, fall off, and hurt my neck. Well, there you go. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right, let's go. All right, here we go. All right, let's do it. Get in here, Ash. You can just jump right in the on-air. Unmute yourself and get your ass in here. Get your Ash in here. Let's do it. Let's finish this up. So Ash is going to be back next week. Actually, we got a show planned for Wednesday tentatively as well. So we'll have next week we'll have James from Salcedo Paranormal on Thursday, and on Wednesday.
Hi.
What's up, man?
How you doing?
Good. Wednesday we'll have Ash the Reptilian from Mars on. What's up, buddy? How are you? Welcome back. How have things been? You've been a busy lizard, I hear.
Yeah, you know what? I fell in love with a beautiful Mars rock named Marsha, and
nice.
We have had a great run here on Mars. It's been its ups and downs. Jeff Bezos death camps, Elon Musk trying to invade the planet, and now I'm just chilling, man. I'm settled in, and I'm ready to talk about some crazy stuff. One of the best episodes we ever had was witches, and we're talking about werewolves. So, I mean, those are cousins as far as I'm concerned. So I'm ready to bring some heat to this conversation.
Well, speaking of witches and werewolves being cousins, one of the ways we talked about becoming a werewolf actually is being cursed by a witch. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about this? Like, again, so we're kind of talking about the mythology of. So first, what's your favorite werewolf movie? We'll go there, and then the mythology. And do you think it's possible that it's real? Jennifer brought up some good stuff with maybe the kinship between the wolf spirit and dogs and people, and how there's that kinship and connection that goes back thousands of years. And maybe there's something to this. And by the way, you probably didn't know this because I know you didn't catch the whole show. There's an actual medical condition called lycanthropy, and people get this weird idea that they're actually a werewolf. And so wherever you want to go with that, let's start with your favorite werewolf movie. How about that?
Hey, Mike, you're so good at this. Like, I'm like really, you're saying stuff, and I'm taking notes. I'm like, oh man, all this stuff. So okay, so first off, obviously, everyone has their favorite werewolf transformation, right? You know, there's all these really good movies where they like really spend a lot of times. It's almost like a 15-minute transformation, like American Werewolf in London, and there's some classics. I forget their names. But it's the idea that you're a human, you're just going about your stuff, and violently you're transformed into this being that's like ferocious and like it craves blood, and you're like super powerful. You're a predator, right? And I think a lot of being a human, where you know you'd be a predator and you kill to provide for your tribe, and we have thousands of years of this genetic code in us, and now we're like hitting buttons on the computer.
We're like,
right, like it's not the same, right?
It's, down to
you know
Walmart
what I'm saying?
To get some beer.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm gonna drink Guinness and like hit buttons on my computer. It's not the same to like being out in the field with making your own bow and like with your homies, and you're out and you're in this, like, if you don't kill this thing, you don't eat. It's not Mother Nature, and we've been removed from that. But at the same time, we've earned it. We own those genetics. We have all that history. You, if you're listening, Mike, you and I were all that same fish who was hiding behind a bush as a barracuda came by, and we made it. And like, we've earned this place in the food chain, and we've overcome that. And so like the idea of werewolves is kind of like morphing back into that. And anyway, you've done a good job of it. You did I had to write freaking like you 2 minutes. I have to write down all this stuff of going through that. So like the American Werewolf in Paris, all those transformations. I love my favorite horror movie, and we're in the month of October. I don't know if you guys have been watching horror movies with me. I just got done watching a new one. My favorite horror movie still is The Thing. Have you ever seen that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Never seen The Thing. Nope.
Like, you've never seen The Thing? I will watch The Thing with you. I'll fly to watch The Thing with you.
All right.
The Thing?
You twist my arm. You're like, yeah, you can't get up till it's over. All right.
Do you get scared during horror movies? Let me know. Do you guys get scared during horror movies? Like, The Thing is a really good movie, man.
Is that the one with the clown? What is that one?
Oh, that's pretty good. That's it.
Thing?
I mean, it's Thing. I get it.
The other thing. This thing. The other thing. The Thing. What's that? Who is that guy? I recognize that actor.
It is like this entity that like
shapeshifting.
They like it's basically an alien that like mind mends with children to eat them, which is pretty messed up if you ask me. But The Thing is a thing that will take you over and become you and imitate you until like all of you is it. And it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, let's say there's 5 people in a room and it's 2 of the 5 people. It's got to take over 4 of the 5 people before it's safe. Yeah. You've never seen The Thing? Dude, Kurt Russell?
The Thing. Yeah, see, I actually just pulled it up and looked at the actor's face. I couldn't place him because he was so young. He's so old now. We're all so old. That was like 1982, man. No, I've never seen it.
The Thing is he goes to like work on a guy, and his head freaking peels off and turns into a spider crab and tries to get away. I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
All right.
It's a
no spoilers.
Movie.
No spoilers.
It's all animatronics. You know what I'm saying? It's all animatronics. It still holds up like Jurassic Park stuff. Anyway, The Thing. Okay, so werewolves. Okay, let me bring it back to aliens, because that's what I do every Wednesday, is bring it back to aliens, right?
It's all about
that's what aliens. I'm here for.
All about the aliens.
That's all I'm here.
No trouble.
Mike, I missed you guys. It's been a while. I've been super busy. I'm back. I'm going to be back. We're going to do some content. I'm going to come back Wednesdays, and we're gonna basically get back on the horse together. Okay. If you guys like me being on it, if you hate me, that's cool. I'll just do my thing on my own channel. But if you guys want me to back, we'll talk about aliens. I got into an 2-hour conversation with some random guy about aliens, and he was like making eye contact, like, what? This guy knows some stuff.
He was eye fucking
and I was
you.
like, go ahead.
He was eye fucking you. You can say it. We're in the third hour.
Bro, I was like, do not get me started for your own safety. And I was like, I co-hosted a conspiracy theory podcast of Michael Strange for like months and months, and I know all kinds of crazy shit. Anyway, so even werewolves, like, you can't take anything off the table, Mike. You know this. Like, you've done enough research for so long. You cannot take it off the table. Like, if aliens were like, bored for like a week, and they're like, oh, let me put some fucking werewolf shit in there. Is this the third hour? Is it the third hour, Mike?
Fucking right. Go right ahead, sir.
Hell fucking yeah.
Swear your balls off.
Then, like, as an experimentation, which I've literally heard that in Area 51, the aliens that fuck with humans, they put wings on us. They do all kinds of crazy stuff. And if they were just like, oh, let's meld them with their favorite creature, which is the dog. I have a pug, by the way, who's like, his only thing is that he's cute and he barks. That's literally it. That's all he does. But if you think about it, when humans were evolving, we gave up our skill set, our smell, our sight, our hearing for the skill of intelligence. And the skill of intelligence came in such a short period of time. It's incredible. And that's the next show I'm doing on. It's one of the shows I'm doing on, is that it's once you know this piece of information, you know that shit is suspect, sus, that's a cool thing people say.
Sus AF. Yes, sir.
Sus AF. I see, Mike. You look at you.
I got gray hair, but I know what adorbs means.
You're like the internet man now these days.
I'm like my gray hair's adorbs. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, go right ahead, sir. Go right ahead. Hey, so wait. So you're like monologuing here, which you're welcome to do, of course. But let's bring this back around to some werewolves. I know you're
sure.
on it. I know you're on it, but go right ahead. But give me 30 seconds. I'm listening. I'm gonna turn you up. I'm gonna step away and grab myself one more cold one. That's the beauty of having a co-host, is you can step away and grab cold ones every 12 minutes if you want. So carry it away, Ash. I'll be back in 30 seconds. I'm listening to you, though. I'm going to turn the volume up. Be right back.
Thank you. So first off, thank you for even listening to me. I appreciate you guys. And I do a lot of crazy research, and sometimes I think I'm insane. And I say these things to you guys, and you're like, oh, that sort of makes sense. So honestly, like, that's a really big part of me keeping my sanity. And I know you guys know what I mean. If you're listening to this show, there's all kinds of crazy stuff out there. But a lot of times, a lot of things come from truth, right? So we're talking about werewolves. In an earlier stream, we talked about witches, and we found out that what's that top football player? His wife is literally a witch, and he said it in a video. And we linked it. We did everything, and I was personally like, what the hell? Surprised. Okay. So we can all do that together. We can like explore the world, learn, and just have fun. But also at the same time, maybe there's a hint of truth to stuff. So as far as werewolves, okay. So
right.
human.
Way to bring it all back. You're getting way too good at this at burning airtime, my man. Way too good.
Oh, stop it.
Way too good. Go ahead. Tell us about the werewolves.
So what I'm saying is that as humans become intelligent, the wolf wanders. This is actually the evolutionary path. And I watched a documentary on this, and it changes over time. It's like cutting edge shit, right? So the wolf was like, that smells good, and wanders into our camp, and then thousands of years later, it's a pug. Right? It loses all its like majesticness, and it's this fucking pug with like this weird ass.
It's this little fat dog that can't like defend himself. Yeah. I had a pug mix too. I understand. I had a pug chihuahua.
Do you have a pug mix?
I had an actual chug. Yeah, pug chihuahua mix. And he was so smart and awesome, but he was just such a little piece of shit. He was just like, again, right? You let him, if you left him outside in the cold for an hour, he wouldn't survive. he just wouldn't survive.
Exactly. I have a little miniature pinscher and chihuahua mix. He got the taste for blood. He's been murdering fucking rodents ever since I went on vacation. That's where I was. Honestly, guys, I got married. I went on a honeymoon. It's been crazy, and I missed you guys.
Congratulations!
I'm back,
to Mrs. Ash, the reptilian. Not to
rock.
Not to you. Congratulations to her, but not to you.
That Martian rock has the curves, man. Whew, I couldn't resist. Martian rock.
Couldn't resist. I tell you what. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah,
congratulations to Ash. I'm glad everything worked out. I'm glad you found your curvy rock, and I'm glad you're back. Welcome back.
Thank you. And I'm going to, guys. This is an official statement, and even Mike hasn't heard this, and he's going to be a little annoyed, but also excited. We're going to find the best abductee we know, and we're going to go and fucking, I don't know, try and videotape aliens. Mike, okay. Right?
All right.
We're going to do it.
I guess that's the thing. We'll see. So as always, though, I think the thing is this, right? Like, this show's always been, we're not actually like looking directly for, experiencers, as the term is. But we're open to that. That's why we have open lines. We've had some people call in with some pretty extraordinary stories. So yeah, Ash is into experiencers, and we'll see. We'll see what we can get. But if you guys have stories, you guys all know this anyway. Everybody's welcome to be on the show as a co-host. And if you're like, well, I probably don't have a long story, then, hang out with us for 30 minutes or an hour or a segment or two, whatever it is, right? You guys are all welcome to be co-hosts on the show. Help us pick a topic and be on the thing. That's literally how Ash showed up as a co-host here. And it's how many of you have been on the show in the past. We've had Tam Bam on. We've had Penny, the Curious Bunny, on. Lots of people have been on the show as co-hosts, and it's why I say it's our show. This is not just me. This is something we built together. So you guys are always welcome. So there you go. Lily's throwing rice for you, Ash. So welcome. Don't eat the. I think reptilians, if you eat the raw rice, your stomach will explode. Don't do that. But throwing rice for Ash. Congratulations. Go right ahead, sir.
I think rice is toxic. I have to wash it down with some human babies.
Yeah, perfect. I also don't recommend that. But okay, so back to werewolves, man. You see, like we're dancing here in circles. We ain't even back to werewolves yet. Get your ass back to werewolves.
Okay. So, Mike. So, for real, there are remote viewers, and there are other people who've gathered information. So, Mike, I've looked at all kinds of crazy shit. I can't discern one from the other. Okay. So let be a grain of salt. I don't know anymore. I've looked at too much stuff. But there is a bunch of research that says that at the bottom levels of Area 51, of SR, what's the other base? SR, you know what I'm talking about.
S4.
S4. See? Mike knows all the... He's like Joe Rogan. He pretends like he doesn't know, but he knows everything. So okay. So S4 when they remote view those at the bottommost layers of those underground bases, they're called DUMBs. DUMBs. I don't know what it stands for, but they're DUMBs, underground bases.
Deep underground military base. Yes, sir. That's what.
See, Mike knows everything, bro. He knows everything. You're like, oh man. Anyway, so at the very bottoms of those is where the aliens hang out. The aliens that we work with, and it's either A, they've compromised they've compromised human leadership, or that's where we kind of banish them. That's up to you to decide. And look, that's pretty true. You can do some research, but it's pretty wild. Like,
so this is
if it sounds crazy, you do some research.
So this is where the werewolves come back in. In the DUMBs, they're housing the werewolves. Am I right? Because you politician being deflected straight to DUMBs. What the fuck?
Okay, I'm getting to it. Okay, so they say in those dumbs, it's like a
werewolves.
It's like
Werewolves are in the dumbs. Werewolves are in the dumbs. No, sorry.
I'm getting there. Like I swear, I'm in. So okay, in those bottommost layers, they say this is literally military fucking whistleblower kind of people coming out. Supposedly, again, this is just people saying stuff that those are like the third realms of hell. That there's people in fucking cages and they experiment on humans to do shit. To the point of like humans with wings, humans with X, humans with Y. Humans as werewolves. Like you take human and it's best friend animal. And here's where we went with the witch thing. I'm sorry, I'm trying to bring it together. It is bringing it together.
I almost
is that
did that
at
tonight. By the way,
at any fucking point in history, aliens have been here the whole fucking time doing whatever they want at any point in history. So if you see like what's the dude with who has premonition with wings, who's glowing red eyes? Mothman, Sasquatch, werewolves, witches. It doesn't fucking matter. It's possible because genetically and superiorly in technology, they can do whatever the fuck they want. So, like, we're getting to the point where we can clone rabbits, right? Like, okay, if we went to another planet, we could clone those dudes. So if we could splice together species and we go to that planet, we could splice together those species. So that's what I'm saying is like, if you look at any ancient text, any ancient history, lore, anything, if there's a rumor in it, it comes from something. And I'm not saying that that's fact, but you can entertain the idea. Scientifically, it's possible if with an advanced third party. That's what I'm saying. So werewolves, we hang out with dogs all the time. Aliens are like, all right, let's try and merge those two together real quick for a little bit. Boom, werewolves. That's all I'm saying, right?
All right,
like it's
all
not
right.
ridiculous, right? Am I crazy or is that ridiculous or
No, it's the same thing. I think so. There were a couple things I thought about tonight too. I was like, before we began, I was like, all right, so there's a few things that are interesting to me about werewolves, and one is it's that the hybrid mechanism, right? Kind of like Alex Jones says, like man, bear, pig, and like these, you know, the human and pig chimeras and all this shit, right? I thought about that. It's like, okay, so it's not just a paranormal thing, but possibly what about like a genetic thing, as a experimentation, right? That thought crossed my mind tonight, and I was like, nah, we do a ton of that shit. Let's just try and do like the paranormal aspect and some of the like spells and others of the shit. Anyway, so you bringing that up is exactly some thoughts, right? As always, when I try and conceive of the show before the show, I try and think of about several different ways to kind of take it, and that was one of them. It definitely crossed my mind, definitely for sure. So welcome back. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're feeling enthused here. I'm glad that we're making the connection between aliens and werewolves, because why the fuck not? And not only that, thanks for there you go. Large March says F-bomb always brings me joy. There you go. The F-bombs in the third hour, guys. Okay, so Ash, we're about that time to wind this sucker down. So, like I said, I told you guys yesterday, Ash will probably be back. I didn't want to give you a premature, other than Wednesday. So he said Wednesday we'll be back with Ash. Thursday we'll be here with James Salcido of Salcido Paranormal, talking about more paranormal stuff next week. And there we go, Ash Wednesdays, as they're called, as they used to be called. And yeah. Let's wrap this fucker up, man. Let's do it. Welcome back. I'm glad everything is good. Give the missus our blessings, and thanks for hanging out and chilling with us, and giving us making the link to dumbs, aliens, and werewolves. Because why the fuck not?
Yeah, it's
why the
when you put it that way, it's like, wow, I did that.
Yeah, much to my chagrin, but you did that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like I've heard of like humans in cages and like those experimentation, and if you think about like visitations and humans that are angels. They're just humans with wings. Like, how hard would it be for the government to put wings on a dude? Like, I'm pretty sure they could do that right now, right?
What's that dude in the X-Men? His name's Angel, right? With the
Angel, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
X Factor.
And like
X Factor?
And someone actually literally said this to me last night. Again, like someone says some crazy stuff. I try to hold back as hard as I can because I can go fucking forever. But he said that he thinks that each race is a different alien project. And a lot of people believe that. And it's like each project, they're like updating the code. I'm doing air quotes, code. Like maybe they'll splice a little dog in there.
I got you.
My project can smell a little better or whatever. It's crazy. But if you think about human history and you zoom out a little bit, you look at the Greek gods, mythology, it starts to make sense that there's all these different factions and they're trying to like get humanity where they want to go. And so anyway, basically, all this crazy shit, I'm saying werewolves, yes. Okay, it sounds ridiculous. It's the month of October, but literally our brain is just turning on to the possibilities of what we live in and what's possible. And it's really exciting and it's fun, guys. So if you're listening, I know you're the kind of person who's going to go out in left field and have a good time, right?
If they're still here at the end of the third hour, you're preaching to the choir. Again, I'm going to point this out. Cody Thorne shows up on Rockfin just to give us the facepalm emoji, and I'm pretty sure he left right after. But I think that's the thing too, is that if you look at the term or what I put is that like how do you become a werewolf and can you cure it, right? That's what I wrote. That's the emoji, the thumbnails, the whole thing, right? All the shit. You see that and you go, oh God, these people are dumb. But like if you listen, it's not really that dumb. See how I did that? Brought it back to the dumbs. The dumbs. There you go. Because actually, Jennifer triggered the thought. But yeah,
Mike, I missed your ass, bro. I swear, I missed it.
Hey man, you got to bring the threads back. You got to bring the threads back. You always got to bring it back around. Even when you lose your train of thought, you got to be like, "Oh shit, what was I saying?" And then trying to find a way to wiggle your back to where you were. And so here we are. And Jennifer helped me out with the dumbs.
See, this show helped me do that a lot. Like I would go on tangents and bring it back, right? And just to the subject. But Mike, you said, bring it back. We can go, dude. The universe is like there's multi-dimensions, there's multi-universes, aliens, humans, politics. It's crazy. Life is complex and kind of beautiful in that way, right? So even just werewolves, where we watch like I was just watching Underworld. That's why I came. I would just literally watch Underworld, Rise of the Lycans. I open up my browser and I see Mike talking about werewolves. I'm like, all right, gotta get in this.
Right? I was reaching out through the ether. Yeah,
bro, the synchronicity is like crazy. Like that's kind of nuts.
I don't want to do this on air, but it's synchronicity. And we got a question. We got a question for your synchronicities here. Carrie Outlaw says this: if you are a werewolf, then do you live in dog years and only live 16 years or so?
Yeah. I wish I lived in dog years. I have dogs. I love them, and dog years go by so fast, and it makes me sad. All right, so
I agree.
I'm like,
oh no, and I can actually say this. I'm asking that for a friend. I can actually say that, and it's the truth. Thanks for the question, Carry Out. All right, let's wrap it up. Do it. All right, Ash. Okay. Remember, you got to get back in the game. Focus. Okay, all right. Time frames. We're 10 minutes over. Let's wrap this MFR up. What are your final thoughts on werewolves? Are they real? Boil it down. Let's get the hell out of here.
Look, like, so first off,
thumbs again. You guys. Grass is grass.
First off, thank you guys for listening to the third hour. Appreciate you. I'll be back. I'll be more active. I'm Ash, the Reptilian from Mars. If you don't know me, I like the crazy shit. Okay, so look, you don't know what's real and what isn't, and you know how I can prove it. When you're alone in the middle of the night, in the middle of a cornfield, and you hear something moving, you ain't gonna be like, that ain't shit. You're gonna be like, fuck this, I'm running, right? Okay, exactly. So you don't, at the end of the day, you don't know. It's so if it's a fucking werewolf, it's a demon, it's an alien, you don't know. And that's kind of what life is about, and that's what kind of makes life exciting, right? We don't know stuff. And that's why you're here today. That's why we're here talking. And that's why I'm here with you guys to talk. It's exciting. So anyway, I'll be back. I'm gonna be back on more. We're gonna have some really exciting shows. I'm gonna try my best, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for listening to Mike. Mike is the best. He's literally the best. And
I know.
Yeah, have a good night. Be careful of the full moon out there.
It ain't the full moon yet. It ain't howling time. All right. This is Ashley Reptilian from Mars. I'm Michael Strange. This is Troubled Minds. You guys know the drill. This is Thursday, so we're done for the week. Tomorrow, Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific on Twitch exclusively, we'll have Troubled Minds news. And then we'll be back on Monday with more. Again, Ash will be on the show Wednesday. We have James from Salcedo Paranormal. Thursday, we're talking about portals and the doorways and closets and under the bed and crazy, scary things. Thanks again for all the amazing, thoughtful chat. Thank you for all the amazing calls. You guys are incredible. Like I said, you bail my ass out every night. And thanks for hanging out and spending your time with us. Like I always say, there's Netflix and all this other bullshit you could be watching, but instead, you're here putting up with our bullshit. So we thank you so much for that. And yeah. And as always, you guys know the drill. If you want to be part of the show as a co-host, you're always invited. I have to say that from time to time. It always stands. Always stands. If you think I probably can't do 3 hours or I can do an hour, fine. You got stories to tell. You got topics you want to talk about. You're invited. You guys are all invited. Okay, so just let me know. Join the Discord. Send me an email at troubledmindsradio@gmail.com or hit me on Twitter at troubledmindsr. A lot of ways to find me. I don't hide. I'm not hiding. So many people in their mama's basement bullshit with a text and Twitter hit and runs call you a racist and run like little babies. They hide because they're children and they're afraid. And so as we finish, what I'm telling you is, do not be afraid. There's no reason to be afraid. Even though reality doesn't seem so linear. Let's accept the challenge. We're out of here. Thanks, Ash, for hanging out. Thanks for showing up. We'll be back tomorrow at 3, and then check out the podcast feed, and there will be a special show this weekend. If you have not subbed up to Rockfin, you're missing out. Rockfin.com/Troubled Minds. Easy. It's spelled ROKFIN. And there we go. We're done. Thanks for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours. Have a great night.